See if it works. I'll get it pulled up on my computer real quick. It says we're live, and I see just a black screen. Okay, so that is why. Oh. Oh, yep, there we are. Okay, cool. Yay! So it looks like everything's working. Just went live if you want to check it. This makes me happy. I'm gonna have to give Steven Derm some crap because he couldn't get it working. So who's the real tech guy, right? Well, to everybody tuning in right now, good morning. Thank you for joining us. I will take you through just some things. It looks like we have 2 people, so not too many of you tuning in yet. We have an awesome schedule today. I will be with you until noon. We're going to start with Stephanie Mills and Jason Riley talking about what's new with Google. Then we go into developmentally appropriate early childhood NTI backpack activities with Julie Hilton and Diana Carlson. Then we do specially designed instructional or SDI in mathematics and literacy with Dwayne Williams and Christy Rhodes. They're part of GLEC, which is a Greater Louisville Education Cooperative, I believe. Then we have teaching, guiding, reading, guided. Okay, let's try that one again. Teaching, guided reading remotely with Andrea Campbell and Tara Schneider. And then we have hashtag KCAN2 with Kathleen Receiver and a crew of awesome educators. And then we end with creating a Bitmoji virtual classroom pre-K to 5 with Rachel Johnson, who I believe is one of our school digital innovation leaders. So we have an awesome schedule. It says please check video resolution 1152 by 720, which is not optimal. I have an echo. Okay, goat voice effect. Oh, you know what? It might be because I was talking on the Hangout and I was. Is that better, Russ? Do you still hear the multiple effect from that? Sorry, guys. I think it's because I was talking through the Hangout and I had my mic open, which might have been doing the double voice there. So I'm going to wait until Russ tells me something, and then I think we're good. Oh, yay. Much better. Okay, awesome. So it is 9:01. And we're going to go ahead and get started. We have Stephanie Mills and Jason Riley with us today. Go ahead and take it away, guys. Thank you for joining us. Steph, I'm not sure if people can hear you. Let me see. Sorry. I hate that is doing that. Okay, let me try that. Let me take my headphones out. Disconnect. Okay. I'm not sure. Hopefully people can hear you now. I'm not really sure why my video looks like it's jumping back and forth between like big and small too. So I'm not really sure what's going on. Sorry, it was working fine. And now, okay. Steph, do you care to talk again?
I got a message as well that no one can hear me.
So, okay. Hopefully, all right. It sounds like people can hear now, so you can go ahead and let's try this again and see what happens.
All right, team. Can we just get an A-OK that everyone can hear me? You'll probably get a message faster than I do, Matt.
Good. It looks like we're okay. I don't know why my video keeps jumping from small to big, though. That's concerning. Okay, Jack says it's working now.
Okay, yep.
Yep.
Okay. Well, if Jack says that it's working, then we know it's probably mostly working. All right, so I'll just go through the introduction again. Jason Riley is here with us. He's what we call a customer care professional on our integration team, and we are IT3. I have the pleasure of working across all three branches of IT3 as our project manager coordinator. So we have three branches of IT, and I always like to kind of start out with that we have our innovation branch, the innovation branch is the crew who runs our digital learning channel and gets these amazing lineups every day. We have our integration branch where they're doing a lot of the support and the integrating of devices in our schools and the managing of those devices. And right now they're doing an awesome job of remotely supporting everyone. And so not only are they supporting staff, but they've been supporting a lot of students and parents through this time of NTI, which is awesome because that's a huge shift for them. So they've been doing a great job. And we have our information branch who does a lot of the back end, the infrastructure, systems development, network administration, hardware repair. And they've been, working behind the scenes. We don't always get to see them front and center. And so they've been doing a great job of keeping us going as well. So I enjoy working with all three branches, a lot of great people. And so one of my other charges is being the primary Google administrator for our district. And so today, Jason's going to join me because Jason works with Google every day in the support arena and in the administration arena. And so we're going to go through the updates and upgrades, some things that you might have seen recently come through from Google, and then a little bit about how we're going to do a summer cleanup and some of the other things that you'll see happen throughout the next several weeks. So we're going to start what's new with Google Classroom. One of the things that you might have seen in Google Classroom that's kind of exciting is that little Meet button at the top of classwork. You can definitely do this, but it's not our preferred way of creating a Meet. And I'll show that to you in a second, but our preferred way of creating the Meet would really be through a nickname and sharing that out. But this is a feature. It does live in your classwork tab in Google Classroom. And so you'll notice that. We're not saying don't use it, but we're saying there's kind of a more preferred way of actually creating a Meet and sending that out to the kiddos in your class. But it is there. You can make it visible to students or not. You can actually go into your settings in that classroom and change that at any time and just kind of make it go away, or you can make it come back. So that's a new thing that's rolled out. And I will say that Google has worked incredibly hard over the last several weeks, or actually, I think probably at months of NTI now, to upgrade their Meet application because it's become really a backbone for distance learning. So they realized that there were some desirable changes that teachers and staff at school districts would like to see. And so they're working continually on improving the product. So the way that we would prefer to see Meet set up would be through going to meet.google.com and then clicking join or start a meeting, and then creating that meeting with a nickname and then sharing that out. That helps us to kind of contain the session so that when the teacher leaves that session, we can't rejoin the session. There are other ways of doing that, but that's a pretty standard and easy way. Jason, Matt, do you have anything to add regarding Google Meet and classroom integration?
I don't. I mean, it's pretty straightforward.
Yep, it really is. So another thing that's new with Google Classroom is Originality reports. This is exciting. Everyone's been waiting for it. I've got a lot of questions over the last year about Originality reports, and people trying, when I say people, our beloved teachers doing a lot of work trying to figure out how they can, in this new age of technology, how do we ensure that, you know, the work is original work? Well, we have that feature. And so Originality reports, if you go to create classwork, an assignment and classwork in Google Classroom, in the right-hand pane where you have some of these options, and so you're probably already used to using that for like the point system and due dates, but underneath there you have Originality reports. And so you can tick that box and you can actually click learn more to learn more about how those work. Right now, Originality reports scan the internet, okay? With us, and I'm going to talk about us being an enterprise level G Suite domain, we're actually going to have a feature where it also scans internally on our domain. So we can know if two of our students are you know, trying to be efficient, right, and handing in the same assignment. So that's a really, really awesome thing to see in full action on our domain now. And please feel free to use it, give us feedback on it. I don't, you know, I'm not in a position where I would be using that. And so I would love to hear how that's working in our classrooms. If you want to know more, we can share the slide deck out, but there's a link there to know more about Originality reports. I'm super excited about it. I really want to see how it goes. And if you ever have, you know, any kind of feedback about it, please throw it our way, because we love to hear how those things are working out.
Steph, I really think that's an awesome feature, because I remember when I was in the classroom, like seeing a paragraph that a student wrote and being like, I don't think you wrote that, and then having to copy and paste it into a Google search bar and trying to find where they got it from. Like it's really, really quick doing it with the Originality report, so that's awesome.
Yes, and I think it's going to be so cool. Like I'm geek through and through, right? So on the back end, I love seeing those features go into full, what we call full production. And then I love the fact that we're in this, you know, we've made the leap into enterprise, which like I said, I'll talk about it again later, but that we're going to be able to scan that on our own domain. So teachers, and, you know, a teacher next to a teacher who might be doing similar assignments, you know, our kids are very creative and very smart. So they know how to be super efficient. So I'm really excited to see how that works out internally as well. What else is new with Google Classroom? Well, so Google has done an incredible job of creating resources around, you know, non-traditional instruction, distance learning, through, you know, this kind of turbulent and different time. And so we will share this out, but Google has an entire site, piece of their site just dedicated to what's called like day one training. So like day one classroom, day one meet, day one sheets, things like that, so that teachers can get in there and start rolling their sleeves up on things that they might not have used in the past. So it does exist, and there are tools out there that Google's created just for this time of distance learning. So we'll talk a little bit more about Google Meet. I am, again, super pumped about this feature coming to fruition, because those of us who have tried to share audio previously through a Google Meet session know that we've had to like play it on our phones in the background so that the audio would come through. And we've really tried to support and be creative to help our teachers with that. But Google said, oh, yeah, we realize that's something that we should probably improve on, and they have. So when you're in a Google Meet session, I think most of us are probably familiar with how to present now, but there's an option that we didn't have before, and that's presenting a Chrome tab. And so they claim this is for best audio and animation. I agree with that because you're limiting the resource that's going to be streamed through that Google Meet session. So that makes sense. But another thing that they have added is that little button down here, the little box that you can tick that says share audio. That means from the tab that you choose. So if I were, this is the box that shows up when I click a Chrome tab over here. And I can choose the tab that I want to share, and then I can tick that box that says share audio. So if I'm trying to share a video with my class, that audio will come through on the Meet rather than having to use the phone in the background or another device to play the audio over the top. I think this is great that Google has realized this need and that they're trying to meet the needs for our classrooms. Anything else you guys want to add? Have you tried using that feature yet?
I have not yet, mostly because when we do these kind of things, we're in Hangout rather than Google Meet because it's easier to switch between people's faces at the bottom. But that's really awesome that it just shows like how so many people who said you can't work from home are totally wrong because Google from home was able to do this very, very quickly. So I think it's just awesome how fast they've responded to the needs of teachers and students throughout this whole thing.
They really have. And, the roadmaps have obviously changed for Google. I tune into the roadmaps, the update calendar. I read the update blog several times a week to kind of know what's coming our way. And so it's been fast and furious. And the Meet product has really risen to the top as a priority for Google. So don't be surprised when we see more updates and upgrades and all of a sudden, that's something that wasn't there before. Well, try it. You're not going to break it. Go ahead and try it. That's what it means to be innovative. So that's exciting. I'm excited for that. And I'm definitely a needed addition to Google Meet. One of the other things that's new with Google Meet is that you can see more. So, you can see up to 16 participants in a panel like that. I know right now we have deployed grid view for our teachers only, and so that they can see everyone's face. And that's been a terrific extension. That's one of the beautiful things about Google is the open source extensions, but we also have to be careful for our students. But on the teacher side, you can be innovative and do a little research and check some of those things out for yourself. But Google does offer this 16 participant view. So if you just kind of, disable grid view, you'll see that come through. So I think that's great. That's just another upgrade. It proves that they're really trying to work hard on the product. Where can I learn more about what's going on with Google Meet? This update blog. Again, these are links. I'm not going to take you to them right now, but the update blog for me is incredibly valuable. I read that a lot so that we know what's going on, and that's open to everybody. And so if you're ever interested in kind of knowing the roadmap, I know a lot of us will follow a couple of really big names in the EDU tech space, like Alice Keeler and Eric Kurtz from Control-Alt-Achieve. And so those are things I read as well because they really pertain to like how you use things in the classroom. But if you really want the nuts and bolts, what's happening behind the scenes of Google, it's really in their update blog. And they use Blogger as their interface for that. And you can actually just Google Google Update Blog, and it will come up. And then you can search by product. So if you're interested specifically in how Google Calendar is coming along, you can choose just that product and it will give you kind of the backlog of updates as well. And then the what's coming up. So it's pretty cool. There's also a link there on how do I use the app. And that's again, like the day one training around Google Meet. Anything anyone wants to add about Google Meet or any features or anything before I move on to drive sharing interface?
Not me, no.
Okay.
Thank you for sharing.
Perfect. And I know a lot of us are using Google Meet kind of, I know on the integration branch of IT3, we use Google Meet as our office, our virtual offices. So we all have these links that we share on a sheet together where you can pop into somebody's office, have a conversation, do a face-to-face, and then, we leave and go about the rest of our, our work for the day. But they've been super, it's been really nice to connect that way and keep a connection with our colleagues during this time. So it's been a lot of fun to use those features and to see them come to fruition. So moving on to drive sharing interface, this is something that's coming that everybody should know about. One of the things before you get too excited about the Google blog and you say, well, Stephanie, this said it was coming April 1st. There are two scheduled or there are two release calendars from Google. One of them is the rapid release calendar, and the second one is a scheduled release calendar. JCPS is on a scheduled release calendar. Why are we on a scheduled release calendar? Because, Stephanie, we love this stuff and we want this right now. Well, we have an incredibly huge domain. So we have, 98,000 plus students. We have, thousands of staff members. And so we need to be careful about not introducing something that may need to be rolled back, might not be in full production yet. And so we are on the scheduled release calendar. So the scheduled release calendar tells me that this rollout should start around May 26th, and it could take us like about 14 days to see it thereafter. In the yellow here is our, what I would call, after we get this update, the legacy screen for sharing in docs, sheet, slides, all of our native Google apps. And so we've all been used to seeing that. Well, we're getting a new interface. And this interface will look it'll look familiar to what a Team Drive sharing interface looks like. And you can chime in, anybody, because if you've used Team Drives, you can nod your head and go, oh, yep, it sure does. Mm-hmm. So it's interesting. We're kind of just moving into this new interface that might be a little bit easier for people to understand, because sharing is a big deal. Once you turn on this, get a link, anyone on our domain, like if you give them the link, they're going to be able to view it. So that's why understanding sharing and having an interface like this that's really clear, this person's an editor, this person's a commenter, and it really lines it out, I think will really help with understanding sharing and not oversharing. We also don't want to undershare. We want to make sure that people have the permissions to do what they need to do on that document. But we also don't want to overshare. We need to be very careful of that. So I think this interface is going to be awesome. We just need to know that it's coming, and that it's okay. It's supposed to be there, and that the features there are important to kind of pay attention to. So any comments on that from you guys? As far as what do you think?
Yeah, I think that's awesome. If you just think about like a clarity perspective, like if you look at your example on the left there, I mean, it just says shared with Molly Johnson. Like, okay, cool. What does that mean? So I think it's going to be a much easier way to see like who has what access to it. And that's good for everybody. So
I agree. And I think it'll be great when we start teaching our students about sharing in the Google ecosystem, that it's really clear and that we can have clear definitions around what is an owner, an editor, a commenter, a viewer, and why do we give people those certain permissions to our documents. If I'm working with a friend, maybe they need to be an editor on that. But if I have a friend who I just want a peer to just review my work, maybe all I need to do is comment on it. So I think this will be great going forward. It'll be pretty clear. So moving on from that, I want to talk a little bit about G Suite for Education Enterprise. So historically, we've been a G Suite for Education district for quite some time. And thank you to all the folks who were pioneers of this for JCPS. But we moved into a new era where G Suite is it is what our classrooms are using. I mean, we want to be digitally agile, and we want our students to learn every platform because we want them to be ready for the workforce. With that, we understood that Google is going to play a bigger role in our classrooms, and so we've we have graduated to an enterprise level domain. And what does this mean for you users, just an everyday user, everyday driver? Not a lot. You're not going to see a lot of difference. Okay. You're going to see some things like cloud search. You're going to see the Meet features. The live streaming feature was actually an enterprise only feature, but they've Google has allowed that to be available for pretty much every domain right now. But eventually they'll roll that back and it will become an enterprise only feature again. My belief is, or my understanding is around Originality reports that enterprise will be the first to get the on-domain scanning. So there are some features for the end users that you'll see that are different, improved, but not a lot. But on the back end, it means a lot. It means so much more. So we have some really great security dashboards. We have things like data regioning. We have things that we just haven't had access to in the past, and so it means a lot for us on the back end to be able to look at, like, we had a conversation yesterday with the integration team about OAuth, and they said OLAuth, and then I got a picture of a snowman. No, OAuth, which is an open authentication. And so when we grant access in an open source platform to things, there's a thing called OAuth, an open authentication. So on the back end for us, we get to see those and we get to do a little cleanup. And so we're excited to roll up our sleeves in just a couple of weeks and get started on using some of those features so that we can make sure we have a pristine environment ongoing for our staff and students. So that's exciting. It's exciting to be enterprise. I believe, Chuck Costa might correct me on this from KDE, but I believe we're the first enterprise domain in Kentucky. So that's exciting news as well. So just for everyone to kind of have a heads up on summer cleanup, what you're going to see, we're going to archive those Google Classrooms. We did that last summer because we provisioned so many classrooms. We have tens of thousands of provisioned classrooms. We also have tens of thousands of active classrooms. So we're going to work with summer school schedule, but we have a tentative date right now, late in July, where we're going to bulk archive all classrooms. Remember, you can still use those. You can reuse materials, but we're going to do that so that we can make sure that we kind of have a clean slate going into the 2021 school year. Can you believe we're going to 2021? It seems like not long ago that we were, I was graduating from high school. So we're into the 2021 school year. We want to make sure we have that clean slate and that we're able to provision those classrooms and that it's very clear for our teachers. So that'll be happening here shortly. We're going to do an app and extension cleanup. I just talked about OAuth, and that's part of that process, is that we will go in and clean up apps and extensions. So you may see some things change and some things be a little different, but we will do our best to communicate those changes. And, you can always reach out to us through jcps.me/help and let us know. Also, we're going to clean up our whitelist domains. If they're usually, that's only just other EDU domains, but we'll take a look at those over the summer. So if you see a change, something's not working, let us know. Let us know and we'll get it fixed. We'll work with you. Also, we're going to work on training and care. So we're going to work on, internal training around some of these new things that we have up and coming, but also training for like our school technology coordinators so that we can help them best manage those devices in their schools. So we have quite the work ahead of us. It's quite a project. Also, just a mention about the TIP program. So all teachers, are, pretty much all teachers are qualified for the TIP program for JCPS. So right now we don't have a firm date on how we're going to do that. We do think it will be a drive-through, but if you are up for a TIP replacement, please back up your data. Use a cloud source if it's OneDrive, if it's Google Drive. But use a cloud source to back up your data because we likely won't be doing that this year just for health concerns for our staff and for you. So, but be looking at your email for updates on when that's going to roll out. So that's just another part of TIP, because our TIP machines are Chromebooks. So just wanted to mention that real quick as well. I know we're running short on time. Just a beginning of year reminder that always accept, never decline your classrooms. We can help you, right, Jason? We can help them with a declined class. I know Jason does a lot of work on trying to research our provision classrooms. We can help them get those declined classrooms back, but it is a little bit of work. But always accept. So in August, when you come back, just be looking for the accept button and click that for us so that you can.
Stephanie, we had a question from Russ Hockenberry in the chat. He wanted to know any idea when Google Classrooms will be available for the 2021 school year.
Yeah, so Russ, that's a great question. That really depends on when the schedules get firmed up at Infinite Campus. Typically, we start it like 2 to 3 days before the term starts. And it is a manual poll. We have to work manually on that first time. But we try to get those up and running for the first couple of days of school. But here's what happens. It is such a load of information that we have to process that we can't start too early. Because starting too early, there are so many schedule changes and so many course section changes. It's really not firmed up until right before school starts. And I know that's inconvenient because I know this heart and spirit of a teacher wants to start early and get their classroom set up. Unfortunately, just because of schedule changes, we would create more of a mess doing it too early. Then that might become even more confusing and frustrating for a teacher. So we do wait until about 3 days before school starts to start provisioning those. So just want to give a shout out, thank you to teachers. We have had, one of the great things about the back end of Google right now is that we get to kind of do some analytics. And one of those is to see how many kiddos have logged into the Google platform. And we've had 87,000 plus students log into their G Suite for Education account since the induction of NTI. That's huge. That speaks volumes for the relationships that you have with your students and that they are tuned in. So that's an exciting little fact. And we have many more of those. So if you're ever interested in kind of an overarching or global perspective, our usage, we like doing that research and sharing that out as well. That's a wrap. I don't have anything else to add today. I know we're running like a minute over here. So Jason, Matt, do you have anything that you'd like to add?
No, I don't have anything. Thank you so much, Steph. Seriously, everybody always learns so much when we get to listen to you talk. So Jason actually texted me. He's been having some internet issues, so he's actually been out of the call for most of it. It kept dropping him on video and audio. So although he might be in on his phone right now. But yeah, just thanks for sharing this information. And it's really valuable and applicable to everything our teachers do for our students. So,
well, thank you for having me. Have a great day. I know you've got a big lineup today, so enjoy. Have a great one and enjoy your weekend. Stay safe.
Yes, thank you. You as well. And Jason, if you can hear us, thanks for tuning in, man. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in this morning. So this is our Friday morning schedule coming up. You can find all of this stuff if you go to jcps.me/NTI. Go to the teacher toolkit and click on the digital learning schedule. Coming up now, we have developmentally appropriate early childhood NTI backpack activities with Julie Hilton and Diana Carlson. If you are on Twitter or you would like to be, you can follow us and continue your learning over the weekend and throughout the summer by following us at JCPSDI. And then on this Monday, we have our final JCPS Dig In Twitter chat. We have two awesome high school digital innovation leaders, Brian Quillen from Fairdale High School and Jackie Hongren from Phoenix School of Discovery. And then we are also going to have Christy Rogers, who's the assistant superintendent for high schools, and Kim Morales and Joseph Ellison, who are the two EAs for high school as well. Which, not to throw any shade at any of the other zones, but this is the only chat where we've had the EA or both EAs and the assistant soup. So, just saying. So we would love to see you there at 8 o'clock. It's the questions were developed by high school digital innovation leaders, but the chat is for everyone. So it looks like I am alone in this call here. So I'm not sure why everybody left me, but hopefully we will get that figured out here in a second. So we will be asking Stephanie to link up her slides if she can, so that you guys can have access to click on those links for the blog, for Google updates and things like that. While we're waiting for people to get back in our Hangout here, let's see. I'm going to try to open another message and send an email real quick. I may have to go through the whole...
Sorry, we're having some technical difficulties
you're okay.
on our end.
You're fine. I figured you guys are having some issues.
Is doing the presentation. It won't let her in at all. She was in and it kicked her out, so she's trying to reboot.
Okay.
I was thinking I could just start without her, but I don't know that I can get to the PowerPoint because she's got it.
Oh, okay.
I'm trying to figure out if I can do that. Give me just a second.
Okay, you're fine. Let me see. We may have it linked up because you guys did a session on this last week. Yeah, here you go. I will copy and paste this link in the chat for you.
Okay.
Where's the chat at on here? Is there a chat on Hangouts? Huh. Okay. That's interesting. Diana, if you go to jcps.me/nti, and then you click on the teacher toolkit and go to the digital learning schedule, if you go to your Tuesday session at 9:30 and you click on your names, that'll open up your presentation for you.
Okay.
And then you should be able to open that up and present through there.
Can you see it?
Is this dressed like an early high school, 90s high schooler day? Thanks, Russ. I appreciate that. I was going to wear a tie, but it was a little warm in my office this morning. So thank you all for sticking with us as we deal with some technical difficulties really quickly. It wouldn't be internet learning if we didn't have some problems here and there. Were you able to find it?
I was, but I can't get it to present now.
Oh.
Sorry.
I can just go through the slides if you want. You can talk through it and follow along, if that would work for you.
Let me see what she's doing. Just a second.
Okay. And this is the right presentation, right? The EC Backpack Materials, Part 2?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. So those of you in the chat, thanks for tuning in with us. We will be getting started here shortly. Remember, if you have any questions, please let us know. And if you want to let us know what school or department you are joining from, that would be fantastic. You can go through. Let's see if we have any yes cards that are readily available here. Here we go. So we have a yes card from Kathleen Receiver to the Audubon staff. Thank you for your collaboration this school year. I love your weekly Twitter. Shout outs to your staff. I'm proud of your progress and determination with integrating technology in your lessons. I look forward to collaboration next year. And that is from Kathleen Receiver, who is the Instructional Digital Innovation Leader for Zone 2. Let's keep scrolling down here. Oh, we got one 4 minutes ago from Russ Hockenberry to Sarah Brock at St. Matthews Elementary. Thank you for being a digital leader and bringing the Jan plan into our NTI world. It was great to have you on jcpsdigitallearning.com. And from that, we're going to talk about jcpsdigitallearning.com really quickly. So you are currently watching us on there now. However, if you subscribe or if you just want to take a look through our videos, we have been trying to break apart these videos every day and upload them separately. you can see now we have 114 videos on our NTI support playlist. And so almost every video we break apart goes into there because this is NTI time. But then we also have some other playlists on here as well for math, for primary, Frisky support, academic instructional coaches, innovative digital leadership. So there's also a search function here. So if you click on that little search, and let's say I wanted to look for Desmos is one that we did a while back with Stacy Justice. If I type in Desmos, I can see that video that Stacy Justice did on how to use Desmos in high school math. So if you go ahead and give us a subscribe while you're on our channel, you will get notified every time we go live and when we post new videos that are relevant to you. I believe Diana is still gone, trying to work out some technical difficulties. So let's continue to look through Twitter for some more yes cards. Let's go back to our page here, and I'll click on JCPS Dig In. And we can keep scrolling down. Later on today, we do have a K-Can 2 session with Kathleen Receiver and some awesome elementary school teachers, so definitely tune into that. I believe that is at 11 o'clock this morning. Before that, we will have specially designed instruction in mathematics and literacy with Dwayne Williams and Christy Rhodes. They're part of GLEC, I believe. Then we have teaching guided reading with Andrea Campbell and Tara Schneider. And then we're going to end off our morning with creating a Bitmoji virtual classroom pre-K through 5 with Rachel Johnson. Later on today, we have some other awesome sessions coming up. We start with an on-demand session for you guys, which is connecting with math fluency games with Andrea Higdon. We have some awesome school leaders talking about wearing multiple hats, being an LMS and STC in the age of NTI. We have Amy Mueller back with Michelle Brown to talk about Infinite Campus quizzes and Google Drive integration, NTI in primary grades, creating a Bitmoji classroom again, using library resources for student engagement is on demand, and HPE during NTI without ESPN, that's a lot of acronyms, is also available on demand at the end of our day. Are we back, ladies? Welcome.
I'm back.
Yay! It's great to have you. I was really running out of vamping time here, so you guys came in right at the right time.
Very scary there. It was like everything went black. It's like in the old days when the radio would just go quiet. I'm like, oh no, what happened? I can't get anywhere. So let's see.
And I couldn't see anything on my end to present. Like I couldn't get the PowerPoint to show up.
Huh.
Well, we're going to try to get it all going
Awesome.
here.
Well, we are super happy to have you here. So as soon as you get your presentation up, take it away.
Okay, let's see.
You know how to get closed captions on Yes?
I do.
Awesome.
So, can you see it?
You may need to hit like Control or Command minus once or twice because it's kind of, maybe I can do that. I don't know. Yep, there we go. We're good now.
Okay. All right. Well, good morning, everybody. Sorry for the late start. You know, technical challenges. It's a little stormy here where I am, so we'll get started. This is part 2 of talking about how teachers and students and families can use the backpack materials that Early Childhood provided to our students to use during this NTI time. So last week we kind of looked at the materials and talked about different activities that could be done. Today we want to take a little bit of a new look and look at it through a different lens in using a developmental continuum. So we're going to talk about using the Pathways to Readiness, which is a part of our Big Day for Pre-K curriculum, which is our curriculum in early childhood. And we're going to specifically focus on math activities. So for teachers and early childhood staff that are out there wondering where they might find these, they are located on the Big Day website. On the teacher space, they're in the assessment area. It's marked there with the red arrow. And then specifically the Pathways to Readiness are in the individual observation guides. So that is where you would go to find these. Here's what they look like. They are available in 5 different developmental domains. Like I said, today we're going to just look at the mathematics development part and look along this continuum, because what we know is that all preschool students and all students learn at different rates, they develop at different rates, and so we really need to be able to individualize our instruction to best meet their needs. And so using a developmental continuum, as you observe the students and work with them, you can see where they are and then what skills are most appropriate to teach next. And so I think that's very helpful for early childhood staff as they're trying to support their students, is to use these as a tool to really know how to plan. So these are the backpack materials that the families received in the backpack. And so all of the activities we focus on today are going to be things that teachers and families could do with these materials at home. So we're going to start with the first area, which is number sense. And at that level, at the pre-emergent level, students would know just a few number words. So if you ask them how old they are, they would, say 3 or 4. If you ask them how many cookies they are, they would know I have 1 or 2. So they're just beginning to use those number words. And then they also can subitize groups of 2 or 3 without counting. At that pre-emergent level, they can look and see. If mom gives them 2 cookies, they can say, oh, I have 2 cookies. They don't have to stop and count 1, 2. And so there are materials in the backpack that could be used for this. The links, I have them laid out here in this photo. There's 2 yellow links, 3. At the pre-emergent level, a child should be able to look at that and say, oh, there's 2 yellow links. You could do it with lots of other items around the house. This is just one example. After the pre-emergent level, they move on into that beginning level. And at this level, they begin to rote count, just the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They also begin to use one-to-one correspondence where they're touching and counting items. They can compare smaller and larger sets, and they know that if you add some more objects to a small set, you'll get a bigger set. So here's an example of just the one-to-one correspondence where they could touch and count the links. Sometimes it's important to help our students know they need to slow down. Either they're moving their finger too fast or they're counting too fast. So really just teaching them to slow down, say one number as they touch each item is important for our students. Here's an example of how they could compare smaller and larger sets. And also then if they added them together, that they would have more. Kids usually begin to understand that, especially around food. If you have 2 cookies, but I give you another one, you've got more. And so as teachers and early childhood staff are working with families, we want to make sure we're using these backpack materials. And then instead of saying, we'll get some pennies or get some cars, we don't know what every family has available in their home. So I've been encouraging teachers to say, what else could you find to make a set with? It's always good to give some examples, but we want to just be respectful of the fact that we don't want parents to feel like they have to go out and buy things to engage in learning activities with their kids. At the next level, within number sense, that's the emerging level. And so at this level, they can rote count to 10 or higher. They are recognizing 1-digit numbers. They're using one-to-one correspondence to count short rows of objects, and they're adding and subtracting 2 small sets. One note about using the one-to-one correspondence, we do want to, as we're helping kids learn these skills, lay out materials in those rows. A random grouping of objects is much more difficult to count. It's more difficult for adults to count too. We have to use some kind of strategy to say, okay, well, did I start on the left or the right? But for kids, we want to have them organized in a fashion where they can count more easily. So here's a picture of the tactile number cards that came with the backpack. And one strategy that I wanted to share is something I learned when I went through Montessori training years ago, called the 3-period lesson. And so if these are numbers that my child needs to work on, I might use this strategy, and I've been doing this a long time, since the day of the dinosaur, and I've used it in all kinds of ways. So the 3 would be a number the child already knows, but as I begin to work with them on learning 7 and 8, I would always begin at the first level, which is naming them. So I would say to the child, this is number 3, as I point to it, this is number 7, this is number 8. I'm giving them the information. So they're hearing it. You can have them rub these numbers because they are tactile. They have kind of a sandpaper feel to them, and that just gives them more sensory input to register and create those pathways in their brain. So at the next level, after you've named them, and you may name them, more than 2 or 3 times and have the child repeat, then you move to that second level, which is you say to the child, point to the 7 or point to the 3. And then the third level of that 3-period lesson is then where they're going to name it. So then you would point to the card and say, what number is this? I've used that to teach all kinds of things over the year, and it really works very effectively. If they learn these 3 numbers and they're consistently being able to say those number names, then you can move to the next level and keep 1 or 2 that they know, and then add 1 or 2 that you're trying to teach, because we always want kids to have that sense of success. If they don't know any in the group and they can't name any, then they're going to get frustrated. So always keep 1 or 2 that they know. One of the other activities at this level is adding 2 small sets. So again, here's the links where you could just say you have 2 green links, 2 blue links, how many all together? At the next level within number sense, that's the developed level. Those are the kids who we would call kindergarten ready. And these are the skills that we should be seeing at that level. That they can rote count to 30 or higher. That they can match numerals to sets 1 through 10. They can use ordinal numbers like first, second, third. They can produce a specified set up to 20, and then they can begin to add larger sets where the sums would be up to 10. So in this example, the teacher, the parent would lay out the links and then say, find the number that shows how many links, and the child would put the number card with the set. This activity or skill, producing a specified set up to 20, the child would have the number card, or the parent would give them one, and then they would lay out the links. So they're producing the set. Again, in the picture, I tried to lay them out in an organized fashion so they would be easier to count. And if, when the child is counting, they recognize they're incorrect, or if the teacher, whether that's a parent or the classroom teacher in their Google Classroom, then go back and have the child count together, help them do that 1-to-1 counting, and then just correct if they need to. And then here's an example of where they could add larger sets with sums up to 20. The links, there are 20 links in the backpack. The next area we're going to look at is geometry and spatial sense. So at the pre-emergent level, they can match identical shapes, and they can follow directions that use location words. So we don't have shape sets in the backpack. So this would be something you could do in the journal, where you draw shapes, and then whoever's being the teacher would point to a circle and then say, show me one just like this. And they could match the identical shapes. Following directions, that's using their receptive language. So the teacher would give the direction, put the glue stick on top of the box of crayons, and then the child would demonstrate it. Put the glue stick under the box of crayons. At the beginning level, they are beginning to recognize and name those simple shapes, and then describe positions of objects using location words. On the journal that was in the backpack, on the back cover, here are the basic shapes. So they are there where kids can look at them and talk about them. And so just being able to point to them and the child name them would be what we're working on. Again, if they're having trouble, go back to that 3-period lesson, name them for them, then have them point to, and then actually have the child name them.
They should be able to begin to use that expressive language to now describe the position of objects. So they should be able to say the link is under the circle or inside the circle or above or on top of the circle. So now they can not only process it at the receptive level, but they can also share it at the expressive level. At the emerging level with geometry and spatial sense, they can name and count sides and corners of shapes, and they can use more advanced language like between and underneath to describe positions. So this could be something they draw in the journal, and they number those sides and the corners to count them and talk about that. Really learning those attributes helps them have a good grasp of what shapes are and how, when they go to draw them, what they need to do. And then here they would be able to say the glue stick is between the box of crayons and the pencils. At the developed level, they understand that shapes retain their properties even when they're flipped or rotated. They can create new shapes with other shapes using no outlines, and they can give directions using location words. So with creating new shapes with other shapes using no outlines, what we see in the preschool classroom is sometimes we have pattern block cards where kids are matching up shapes to create a new picture of something. They can do it with unit blocks when they begin to recognize 2 squares equals a rectangle. And so just as they're able to do that through play and see they can make new shapes out of other shapes is important. Understanding that shapes stay the same even when they're flipped is always interesting. It's always the triangle is the one that I find they have the most trouble with, which is always interesting to me, just to take it back to that level, because it has 3 sides, it has 3 corners, but when they're upside down or sideways, sometimes kids get really confused. So we just need to teach them always count the sides, count the corners, 3 sides, 3 corners, it's a triangle. And then they could begin to give directions using location words. So this would be something fun for the families to do. Let the child be the teacher, and then have siblings or the parent, be the student, and try to practice giving those directions. Go look in the box or look under the bed. So that's, again, being able to use that expressive language. So the last area we're going to look at, try to speed through here, is classifications and patterns. So at the pre-emergent level, they can sort by one attribute, such as color or type of object, and they begin to notice A-B patterns. So here we're using the foam letters from the backpack, and they just sorted by color, which is usually the way that most kids sort first, is by color. And here's an A-B pattern that they might just say, oh, that's a pattern. They begin to see it. They see it in their clothes and in things in their natural world. At the beginning level, children can sort by one attribute, and then they can sort by another, and they can begin to duplicate those A-B patterns. So now, instead of just sorting by color, they've sorted into letters that have curved lines and letters that have straight lines. So that's another way to sort the letters. Here in the journal, the teacher would draw a A-B pattern and then see if the child could duplicate it. At the emerging level, they can sort a collection of objects in more than one way. They can duplicate more complicated patterns, and they can extend an A-B pattern, not just duplicate it, but they can extend it. So now they've sorted the letters by uppercase and lowercase, which is another way to sort the foam letters. Here they're duplicating a more complicated pattern, an ABB pattern. And here's where they could draw to extend a pattern. So they would then draw the next circle to come. At the developed level, they can sort by multiple attributes, and they can extend more complicated patterns. So here they have all red letters. They've sorted them into uppercase and lowercase, but then they've also sorted them by letters that have straight lines and letters that have curved lines within the uppercase and lowercase group. It's always fun when kids get to this level and can see all the different ways to sort things. Here's a more complicated pattern you could make with the links. So this is now an A, BBC pattern. And again, kids, once they get to this stage, it's always fun to see the patterns that they're creating and able to extend. So sorry I had to put it in speed drive there. Just remember, this is a really valuable tool to use with all the domains to get a sense of where a child is and what, if they're missing a skill, let me look at the pre-emergent or the beginning level to see if I need to go back and reteach something at that level so they can move on to the emerging or developed level. I also find this is a great tool to use with parents to help them see where their child is, because sometimes they're developed in some domains and then they're struggling in others. But to see that it is a continuum and they're making progress on that pathway to readiness, I think is really important. I don't know if we had any questions that popped up that we could answer really quickly.
We did not. Most of the statements and questions was just about accessing this after today. So we gave them some information on how they would get to that on the NTI support page.
Okay. And then we used our Big Day for Pre-K professional handbook and the Pathways to Readiness, and then our backpack materials. And here is our contact information if anybody has any questions. And then we also have the information about our early childhood, child development and education Google Classroom, where we're continually posting resources and activity ideas. And the class code is there. For any early childhood instructional staff that have not already joined, if they want to join that as a resource. Thank you for letting us come on and share some more information, and I apologize for the technical difficulties.
Oh, it's no problem at all. Thank you both so much for being here again this week. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for having us.
Have a good weekend. Alrighty, everybody, it is 9:59. Just to answer some of the questions in the chat, if you go to jcps.me/NTI, click on the teacher toolkit and go to the digital learning schedule, it'll take you right here where you can find all the presentations that we've gone through this week. So while Julie and Diana were presenting, I did link up their presentation to their name for you there. So if you click on their names, it'll bring you to Using EC Backpack Materials Part 2, and that presentation is there for you to view. Additionally, our digital innovation team is working every day to break apart these videos and get them to you in individual ones. So you can find those if you go to the JCPS Digital Learning channel, which you are watching on right now. If you go to playlists, you can find our videos in our NTI support playlist. The previous video would fall under that, and it would also fall under the primary teacher playlist. You can also use the search function here to find videos as well. So if I wanted to find something about early childhood development, I could search early there, and you can see some of these videos that we have here. I believe this video, developmentally appropriate early childhood NTI backpack activities, that was part 1 of their series, and they just did part 2 a second ago. You can also follow along with our learning if you follow us on Twitter at JCPSDI and tweet to the hashtag JCPSDigIn. On Monday at 8 o'clock, we have our final JCPS Dig In chat of the year. We had 2 awesome high school digital innovation leaders, Brian Quillen and Jackie Honghern, who developed these questions, as well as Christy Rogers, our assistant superintendent of high schools, and Kim Morales and Joseph Ellison, our executive administrators for high school. They will be joining us at 8 o'clock to answer some questions and have a conversation that'll round out our year and get us looking towards the summer and the fall. So we really, really hope to see you there. Again, that is hashtag JCPSDigIn at 8 o'clock on Monday. So we are going to move into our next session of the day, Specially Designed Instruction, or SDI, in Mathematics and Literacy. And it looks like we have Dwayne Williams and Christy Rhodes with us. Welcome. It's good to have you all. Oh, there you go. Oh, you're muted, Christy. I don't know. We're still not getting anything from you.
It's coming.
It's coming. Okay. How are you all doing today?
Doing great.
Good, good.
I think we're getting ready to do this. Here we go.
Christy keeps muting you for some reason. I'm not sure why.
She don't want me to talk.
If you want to refresh the Google Hangout, Christy, you might just need to go out and come back in. If you're joining us in the chat today, please let us know where you're from, which school or department. And if you have any questions, we have some awesome digital innovation leaders. Russ Hockenberry, I've seen in there. I believe I saw Kathleen Receiver earlier. Danielle Washburn was in there for a while. Jack Bosley. So they would love to help answer your questions any way we can, and try to get that taken care of. Is she going to be the one presenting her screen today?
I just shared my screen. Can you see it?
No, I cannot.
That's not a good thing.
No, it's not.
So right now I've got you on there. I want to hit share and then open up the PowerPoint itself.
Yes.
I'm going to hit share. There we go.
Yep. Now I see it.
There we go.
Alrighty. Yep. And then go to present. And you know how to put closed captions on?
Nope.
Nope. Okay. So you see where it says stop sharing at the bottom. Hit hide next to that. All right. And then you see that little bar that appeared on the bottom left?
There's a caption thing.
Yep. Click on the CC right there. Perfect. That's great.
I think I figured it out.
Hey, welcome, Christy.
Right, I had my AirPods on. So.
Oh, okay. Well, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
No problem. Sorry for the for the technical difficulties.
Totally fine.
All right. Well, are we on?
Yes. You all can take it away.
Awesome. Well, good morning and happy Friday. We are so happy to be here presenting with you guys. We just want to make it known that this presentation has been adapted from materials that was created in partnership with the 9 Kentucky Special Education Cooperatives. And you're seeing all the symbols up on the screen. We serve 120 school districts across the state. And so if we're on our next slide, you can see us. So we are Greater Louisville Education Cooperative. So we support Jefferson County Public Schools and Kentucky School for the Blind.
So our agenda today is we will review specially designed instruction and NTI guidance, the considerations for specially designed instruction unique to NTI, and specially designed options and resources. It is the responsibility of the special education teacher to adapt the content, the methodology, or the delivery of instruction to address the unique needs of a student with a disability to ensure access to the general curriculum. As we consider specially designed instruction, we are mindful that students with IEPs are receiving educational services in a variety of methods. During NTI, no JCPS schools are completely closed, yet none are completely open. In some schools, teachers are developing home packets that are delivered and collected by various means to the student. Some schools are using continuous learning opportunities with the teacher checking in with the student and parents through phone, email, Facebook, etc. And other schools have e-learning with instruction providing interactively through an online platform, such as Google Classroom. The NTI delivery methods are changing frequently, depending on the individual needs of each student, the supports that can be provided in the home, and the availability of internet services. Think about how you are delivering specially designed instruction during NTI.
Given the varied needs of our students, many teachers are struggling with how to effectively provide STI in these non-traditional formats. Services may not look the same, but we can still provide the supports through other means and continue to individualize instruction based on the unique needs of our students. Keep in mind that many parents of students with disabilities may need additional support in order to assist their child to engage in learning activities at home. This can be a great opportunity to build relationships among team members through increased communication, sharing of resources, and problem solving. Specially designed instruction is always individualized, and it's based on the individual needs of the students. Remember, if it is special education teachers' responsibility to adapt the content, methodology, or delivery to address the unique needs of the students and ensure access to the general curriculum. As we plan for STI, we should consider, Are we mirroring typical SDI as much as possible given the circumstances? For special education teachers, it's not enough to simply check in on our students or provide them with assignments. We also have to deliver specially designed instruction. It's the essential component that makes special education special. In the classroom, SDI is often provided to the student using strategies such as modeling, scaffolding, explicit instruction. But during non-traditional instruction, the same SDI can still be delivered if we have some creativity. Students with no internet access makes it difficult, but we can also sometimes use phone calls, text messaging, send home packets, include lessons with pictures and directions, task analysis, schedules, manipulatives. For families with internet access, support may be provided through Google Meet, Microsoft Teams, or other online platforms. This is a time to be creative because some students have different ways of interacting. There's a lot of educational software right now that's being offered for free as well.
Think about how you will communicate with your students' parents or guardians and their capacity to assist. Keep in mind that many parents of students with disabilities may need additional support in order to assist their child to engage in learning activities at home. This could be a great opportunity to build relationships among team members through increased communication, sharing of resources, and problem solving. When working with our students and providing specially designed instruction, we want to look at explicit instruction. And for our students that need intervention and intensive intervention in tier 2 and 3, it is all about the we. We have to provide our students with additional time with support from the teacher before we give them the gradual release to do it on their own. We have provided a link, which is in the left-hand corner, to the IEP and Lesson Plan Development Guide that was developed to provide teachers with examples of specially designed instruction, as well as supplementary aids and services. The Department of Education has a specially designed instruction task group, which Christy and I are both working on to develop additional resources for teachers.
All right, so I'm going to get into a little bit of an example with how specially designed instruction would have looked in the classroom, how that same instruction can look in a non-technology, and then what NTI with e-learning example would be. And so in this case, we're thinking of a student who may have specially designed instruction in explicit systematic instructions in phonics. So probably a student who has a disability with specific reading. So I have some links here with explicit systematic phonics lessons, scope and sequencing materials. Those links are all in there that you can get in and see the things that are in there. But we know that with our student in person, we're going to be using cards, we're going to be using sand, we're going to be using lots of materials that arm tapping and hand motions that's going to use all that multi-sensory. If the students are alone, if they're in the class or at home and they don't have internet access, then we might need to provide some very detailed explanation of what it is you want the parent to do. And so this link with these materials could really give teachers a good idea of how. I would not send that entire packet to them, but it's a good resource for teachers to be able to break it down and share with parents. You might also want to provide your parents with some decodable passages and letter cards, lists of words, visual pictures of their sight words, and instructions on how to use multi-sensory items. They may not have sand at home, but they might have salt or rice or shaving cream. So those might be other avenues, or sidewalk chalk that they could use in a similar fashion. Another idea is you could have, if parents have a piece of paper, white paper, and a plastic sleeve, they can make a dry erase board. If they don't have dry erase markers, they can use a crayon, and it takes a little bit longer to clean it off. But if you do have technology, I wanted to draw your attention to the University of Florida UFly Virtual Teaching Resource Hub. So this hub has lots of resources for if you were doing instruction like the ones I was talking about in person. Now you're going to have to do it electronically. So there's a video here that has an introduction. There are lots of tutorial videos throughout the entire site. You can see as you go down, there's some lesson structures. When you click on that, they have lessons from K through 5. They have instructional activities that can be interactive. They have some ideas for managing attention and behavior during this, and some tech tools and tips. So it's a wealth of knowledge. You can see that underneath in the orange, there's the tutorials, frequently asked questions, and then they're taking donations because this is free, which is a great resource to all of us. And the other tool I wanted to highlight is the virtual letter tiles. And so with this, since we're mouse input, we're going to do that. This allows students to actually move letters to be able to put words together and sound them out and blend them. So this is a tool that is being offered free during this time through really great reading. So your students can have some actual manipulation of letters while you're doing your instruction through to Google Meet or whatever it is that you're doing with your students. All right, so now I want to get into an example with writing. In this example, it's a student that's working on writing, and the teacher is using self-regulatory strategy development, which is a very evidence-based practice. It's often referred to as SRSD. So in the classroom, you're going to be doing a lot of things. There are 6 stages. They're recursive that you use. This also includes some motivating and self-regulated strategies, some self-talk. There's mnemonics involved in self-regulated strategy development, depending on your mode. And then there's self-talk as one of the self-regulation strategies. So in this instance that we gave, the teacher decided that self-talk was something they were really going to focus in on with specially designed instruction. So this plan that I found would be good for any of these in the classroom, NTI with no technology or NTI with technology. This is really a planning structure for how you would do it, and they have each stage laid out. And then there's a place for the task analysis. How will I assess students? This might be a good thing for the teachers to fill out and send to a parent if they do not have access to the student through technology, to really show the different stages and how they're going to be supported throughout. So that link is in there and you can access it. Again, wouldn't send it out blank. The parents would need the information from the teacher to be able to implement. Also within this, at the side, I have a link to a free IRIS module. And Dwayne's going to go into IRIS modules in more depth. I'm going to show you one. But just to know that there is, if you're like, I wonder a little bit more about this self-regulated strategy development, there is a free module through IRIS that you can go through. Here's some other information. One of the mnemonics is stop and dare. You use a lot of graphic organizers, so that's a whole support of how you could use this within your classroom. And this would be for older students. And then we have a self-statement chart. So this really has some self-statements that you can use with your students to help them to plan their writing and to make sure that they are using positive things to keep them on task. In the NTI section, I have a link for the Writing Legends, which is a supportive platform that you can use with writing. Now, it doesn't have the SRSD built into it, but that would be what the special education teacher would bring to support the students using the Writing Legends so they could write, but then during some of their Zoom meetings or their Google Meet meetings, the teacher would talk about the aspects of the SRSD to support them as they go through this. And this would allow them to also monitor and support them.
So now we want to talk about specially designed instruction in the mathematics classroom, or NTI, non-technology examples and e-learning examples. In the classroom, when students are learning math concepts, students benefit from a variety of experience to develop a conceptual understanding. During the CSA instructional approach, students need concrete experiences to build a foundational understanding that can lead to deeper understanding and procedural fluency over time. The C represents concrete, which is the use of manipulatives in context. S is for the semi-concrete, a pictorial representation of concrete models, and A is abstract. We're connecting the mathematical symbolic representation of the concrete and the semi-concrete. Keep in mind, though, students cannot be handed the manipulatives and expected to know how to use them. They have to be explicitly taught that they are mathematical tools to enhance their learning. While the concrete phase should be a starting point for learning, the remaining phases become flexible as students have multiple experiences. For example, while students are building concrete models, the teacher may be recording the semi-concrete and or the abstract. Using gradual release, students should begin to use all three representations of the C, S, and A flexibly to represent their thinking. CSA is appropriate for concepts ranging from quantity and place value in early years to more complex concepts such as statistics and algebra. The key is to find the appropriate tools and sequence of experiences that will lend to effective learning. In short, the CSA instructional approach is an evidence-based practice that should be used as part of the universal design for learning in all math classrooms with all math learners. However, for students with disabilities, using this approach is an intentional way that can positively impact their learning. Other tools that we can use in the classroom that can be accessed virtually are calculators. But students also need to be explicitly taught how to discuss the mathematics using the specialized vocabulary, listen to and critique the work of others peers during the learning process. The Freire model, which is shown in the left corner, is a good tool to use during vocabulary instruction. It allows students to record characteristics, non-characteristics, examples, and non-examples. A non-technology example is that there are many manipulatives that can be found in a student's homes. They include beads, beans, buttons, toothpicks, popsicle sticks, Legos, and cereal. There are printable manipulatives that can be sent home with the students for future learning. The first one would be Get to Math. Whoop, hit the wrong button. There's a multiple Blackline Masters that you can use with your students and send home with them. They can also be used within the classroom. These are broken out in various tabs. We also have another one that can be used as well. I'm highlighting a number line for integers that could be used for older students in the classroom and can be sent home for them to work at home on NTI. I also want to point out virtual manipulatives. They are a substitute. They're not a substitute for concrete experiences. However, They can be an effective bridge between the concrete and semi-concrete phases during NTI. They are also helpful for students' use at home or on devices with concrete materials are not available. I have listed several sites. One of them is the Didox Virtual Manipulatives. It provides various manipulatives, and while you're using them, they also provide you with some tutorials to help out in case a parent calls needing additional support. I would, however, warn you that teachers should get on these virtual manipulative sites and work through with the manipulatives in the event that a parent does need additional help. The CSA instructional approach is often paired with explicit instruction for using manipulatives and representing student thinking on paper with drawings or symbols. In addition, scaffolding is usually necessary during the CSA approach. I have provided some additional resources, and as Christy mentioned earlier, one I want to point out is the IRIS module that was developed at Vanderbilt University. In this particular one, they provide some instruction on visual representations, which is more than a picture or a detailed illustration. A visual representation or schematic representation or schematic diagram is an accurate depiction of a given mathematical quantities and relationships. The purpose of the visual is to reflect the student's understanding of the problem. The IRIS Center covers schema instruction, which is a strategy on how to instruct students that have difficulty with word problems. And they also provide instruction on 2 different metacognitive strategies that students may implement in their mathematics classroom or at home during NTI. The first is self-instruction or self-talk, and self-monitoring, which is checking one's performance, which involves the use of a checklist.
All right, so we just highlighted a few of the resources that you can also find in the NTI Teacher Toolkit. It's under the JCPS NTI Support Instructional Toolkit. Then you go under Teaching and Learning Resources. And this is a screenshot right now of what it is, but you can see up in the corner, in the little arrow, we've got a link, so it will take you directly there. In the bottom right-hand corner, you can see that there is one that says ECE. So when you click on that, it's going to take you to our next screenshot. And this will be broken up under subject areas within special education. So JCPS and GLEC worked collaboratively to create some of these. When you click on any of those headings, you're going to be taken directly to relevant resources for both SDI and supplementary aids and services like text readers, predictive text, virtual manipulatives. There's lots of good things out there. There's also a lot of resources that are being provided free right now that are normally paid, that are self-pacing, that are able to be set to the unique needs of students and then monitored throughout.
So as we wrap up this morning, I want to point out that the collaboration of the Kentucky Special Education Cooperatives have compiled many different resources for teachers to use as we navigate NTI. These resources can be used when we return to our normal classroom settings. When you open the document, you want to find the latest resources under the COVID-19 header. Go to the instructional resources, and there is a multiple resources that can be used during NTI. We would also like to encourage special educators to bookmark this site, as it will be updated frequently by the special education cooperative personnel. This concludes our presentation this morning on specially designed instruction for literacy and math during NTI, and we thank you for attending this session.
Are there any questions?
Looking through the chat, we had one question from Joellen Wally. She said, what is the name of the reading program that uses the tiles in reading portion?
Oh, that was really great reading.
Awesome. Thank you. That's what I thought. I had put that in there, but I just wanted to double check. Other than that, we just have some people saying they really like the materials. Russ said that Legos are the world's most perfect toy.
Yes, they are.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you all so much for being here with us today. Sorry about the technical issues at the beginning, but I'm glad we got them worked out.
Yeah. Now I know. No headphones.
So if you're watching this, that presentation is linked on the JCPS Digital Learning Support Schedule. Thank you all for being here. I hope you have a great weekend.
You too. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, everybody, it is 10:28, so let's take a look. Remember, you can go to jcps.me/NTI, click on the Teacher Toolkit, and go to the Digital Learning Schedule. There, you will find all the resources that we use for all these presentations and videos. So that one, specially designed instruction, that just happened. You can see that if you click on their names, the presentation they used will come up. Coming up now, we have Teaching Guided Reading remotely with Andrea Campbell and Tara Schneider. But before we get to them, remember, you can continue to learn with us if you follow us on Twitter at JCPSDI. You can also subscribe to us on the JCPS Digital Learning channel, which you're watching right now. And if you go through and you look at videos and playlists, you can see we have 114 videos on the NTI support playlist, and all the other videos that we have are linked there, or in some of these other playlists like primary teacher, math, English, and so on. You can also search if you're looking for something specifically. So let's say I'm a math teacher and I want to learn more about Desmos. If I search Desmos, it'll bring us to that video that Stacy Justice did last week. I believe it was last week. Might have been the week before. On Monday, coming up next week at 8 o'clock p.m., we have our final JCPS Dig In Twitter chat. The questions were developed by two of our high school digital innovation leaders, Brian Quillen at Fairdale and Jackie Hongren at Phoenix. And then we're going to have Christy Rogers, Kim Morales, and Joseph Ellison. So it'll be the first Twitter chat where we've had the assistant superintendent and both EAs there. So it should be really exciting. It'll be a really good chat. We'll be talking about reflecting on NTI and what it's meant, and looking forward to the summer and the fall. So we hope to see you there 8 o'clock on Monday. Now we're going to go to Andrea and Tara for Teaching Guided Reading remotely. Welcome.
Hello, it's actually going to just be me today.
Okay.
Andrea had something come up, so she's not able to join us. If you wouldn't mind, would you mind helping me out with the videos again like you did last week?
Yeah, absolutely. Let me pull the thing up real quick. Here we go.
I'll go ahead and get started with this.
Great.
Let's both take turns with the screen. So let's go ahead and get started.
Okay.
Good. Hi, I'm Tara Schneider. I'm one of the Zone 2 district literacy coaches. Again, I'm sorry Andrea is not able to join us today, but we also have some members of our team in the chat. So feel free to ask away in the chat box, and there'll be people from my team that will be answering them.
Tara, do you mind to put your closed captioning on for us really quickly?
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you.
Hide this closed caption. I always forget.
You just have to hit where it says the CC right there,
Okay.
right next to the arrow.
There we go.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay. So the purpose of this training is to give teachers ideas on how to provide small groups and one-on-one instruction remotely via a digital platform. Once you play around with the resources and different platforms, the possibilities are endless. Just this past week, we've noticed, and honestly, the past month, we've noticed several teachers creating lessons remotely, and they're just doing a phenomenal job. This is all a learning experience, new to everybody, so we encourage you to keep on trying, and the more you do it, the better you're going to get at it. So we're going to be walking you through how to use different ways to teach lessons using Screencastify, as well as live lessons using Google Meet. And we've primarily been using the Pioneer Valley digital books that are available that are paired up with the Jan Richardson. And so we're going to show you how to teach guided reading using components of introducing the new books with the comprehension focus, reading with prompting and discussion, word study activities that you can do on a digital platform and how to incorporate writing into a digital platform. So the first step is you need to be able to access the digital books. Like I said, we'll have other links to digital books, but the ones that we've been primarily using, our team is primarily using, is on the Pioneer Valley. So you're going to follow this link to set up an account. Scroll down, and after you sign up, make sure it doesn't go to junk, because mine went to junk the first time and it took me a little while to find it. So after you have an account, you have access to books. So you'll click on the read books, and you can see there's levels, all these different levels A through Q. So we've got everything from the pre-A readers to the fluent readers, and everything's available. If you look up at the top, there's cameras on some of them. If they do have a camera, then you can see that Pioneer Valley has provided lessons. So I'll show you what those kind of look like. So those can either be lessons that you can give them, or it can be something that you can base your lessons off of. But they've got some pre-recorded lessons over here. I'll show you if I can expand one of them. So you can see that's over there with that. And the books are really easy to use. I don't know what I just did. And just a really great resource. And I'm sorry, excuse me. I had a lot of different teachers reaching out to me, asking me, how do we use the Google Meets and be able to see your students? That was very difficult. So you can actually add on this extension Dualist. If you add on that, then it'll help you. It'll give you access to being able to divide up your screen in different ways. After you add it on, you can divide up your screens so you can have 2 different screens and be able to see not only the book, but your students, which is very helpful. So we're going to show you some lessons. We're going to show you some lessons over here. We've got the new book introduction, the comprehension strategy, and during the reading, how you can do this for a pre-recorded lesson using Screencastify, digital text, and Google Slides. You want to make sure when you give it to them, you share with a view only for the students. It feels awkward when you're doing these lessons because you're going to pretend the students are there with you. And so you want to make sure you give a lot of praise and you stop and pause to have them be able to pause and get the materials they need. Because a lot of times they'll need materials, especially for those transitional and fluent lessons. They need to have things to write with. Make sure to be very clear with your directions because you won't be there for them. You're going to have to give them more explicit directions than you normally do during a regular guided reading if you were there with them in person, because you want to just be able to set them up for success so they don't get too frustrated. And again, make sure you're giving them a lot of support. And right now, if you wouldn't mind clicking on the new book introduction.
Yeah, sure thing.
Actually, you can go ahead and show all 3 of those videos.
Okay. There we go. And we're playing now.
All right, thank you.
Pickles. In this story, Danny and Pickles do not want to go outside and play. They just want to sit in the house and watch TV. Read to find out what Danny and Pickles do to have fun. So here's Danny and Pickles sitting watching television. Here's that long word, television. Can you say that? Good. And they are going to put on a play. So right now they're writing the script. And Danny says that he wants to be a knight. That word knight has a silent K. Knight. Okay? So we have to read to find out if Danny and Pickles find something else that's fun that they want to do.
Okay. And moving on to the next one, yes?
Yes, please.
Okay. Here we go. This is comprehension strategy.
Yes.
Dear reading, I want you to think about who, what, and why. Go ahead and pause this video, and you will need paper and pencil, and I want you to record what you see on the screen in your notebook. Okay, do that now. All right, good job. So as you're reading for chapter 1, I want you to pick an important character and write their name here. and then tell what that character did and why they did it. For an example, in chapter 1, I can choose Pickles. What did he do? Was bored. Why? Because he had to go outside and play. Okay? So that's what I want you to do after you read chapter 1, chapter 2, and chapter 3. Okay, you may now begin reading.
Okay. You can go ahead and click on that last one, please.
Awesome.
Okay, you may now begin reading. Push pause if you need more time for each page. Now, go ahead and record who the most important character was, what they did, and why they did that. After you complete that for chapter 1, go ahead and start reading chapter 2. So that sounds like it's so much fun putting on a play. I bet Pickles was a great dragon. Look at your table that you created during your reading. Read who you chose for chapter 1, what they did and why. Read who you chose for chapter 2, what they did and why. And read who you chose for chapter 3, what they did and why during this time.
Okay.
All right, thank you. So you can see those are different ways that you can support your students with pre-recorded lessons using Screencastify, digital text, and Google Slides. There's also the option to have your students sign up to do live lessons. I know a lot of some reading recovery teachers are doing it that way, and other teachers are having meeting one-on-one with their students through Google Meet. So that is another option. And so you can see how, if you want to watch, if you want to click on this video, you can see how you can still support your students through live lessons.
Is it the which
one?
one?
Sure, sorry. Esther goes to the library.
Okay, cool. Sorry. There we go.
Oh, you're great. Thank you.
Here we go.
This is where he looks a little sad in the boards, and Buster's like happy that he sees the library.
Yeah. So I wonder what's going to happen. I wonder what the problem's going to be. So I'm going to go back to the front. And as you're reading, I want you to think about these 5 things: the characters, setting, and the problem. Okay, we're just going to look at those 3 things because we're only going to read chapters 1 and 2.
Oh.
Okay, so you're going to read. I'm going to turn the pages for you, and I want you to read. Okay?
It was Saturday morning. Ricky was walking to the library.
Okay. Terry, you there? Tara? Oh no, I think she may have dropped out for a second. We'll give it a second to see if she comes back in.
Hello?
Hey, there you go.
Sorry, I did not know what happened.
No, you're okay.
So you showed the video. Okay, so to continue, sorry about that. So I don't know what happened. Anyhow, to continue with that, you can also do live lessons. What's wonderful about having live lessons is that you can prompt the students during their lessons and be able to give them that individual attention and help them right then when they're having an issue. So if you want to go ahead and click on the read with prompting, and hopefully I won't lose you this time.
Yeah, you just need to share your screen again. So if you want to take care of that while I'm taking care of this video, that's fine. I figured we were going to play the next one, so there you go.
Okay. I'm going to get on the read.
The principal came inside the.
Notice something. Go back and fix it. Let's do a slow check on that word inside. Ready? Inside.
Into.
Oh, go back and reread it. Good job.
The principal came into the classroom.
Oh, please don't tell me I lost you again.
Oh, no.
Did I lose you again? Okay.
Nope, I'm still here. Sorry.
Okay, so you can see, now I'm a little worried. So you can see that is some different ways that you can work with them during a live lesson. On the next slide, Andrea has an example of how after the lesson you can do a discussion about a 5-finger retell. If you want to click on that, it's a very quick slide and quick video with that.
Let me get to there. Okay, here we go. And there you go.
Me. Use your thumb. Put your thumb up. Who are the characters in the story?
Ricky and Buster
Mm-hmm.
and the librarian.
Good. And the next one is the setting.
So the setting took place at the library.
Good. And the last one?
The problem?
What was the problem?
Buster was too loud, and the librarian said that he had to be quiet, so she said that you'll have to take him outside.
Yeah. So how'd that make Buster feel?
Sad.
So you can see over here, so you can see how you can use that during a live lesson. And then some materials you're going to want for your lessons, whether they're live or pre-recorded, is students can have a dry erase board, paper and pencil, a chalkboard. My nephew, when I did lessons with him, he used a Magnadoodle. It's whatever they have available. And then I linked up a list of different digital books that are available. Of course, the ones on Pioneer Valley. Rigby also has digital books available, but you cannot use them on Chrome. And then if your school or you have a subscription to Leveled Literacy, that's also available, but only if you have an existing account. Capstone Interactive also has some books, and then a reading recovery favorite, the Mary Ruth books with all the Danny and a couple of the different books are available as well. And you also want to have your Next Step Forward and Guided Reading book and the comprehension cards that, if you have them, or they're available at the back of your Next Step Forward and Guided Reading book. So word work, this is one of my favorite parts because you can get really creative with word work using different platforms. So we can go ahead and click on the sound boxes video and you can see one of the different ways you can use it.
Sure thing. Do you care to put your closed captionings back on while we're watching this as well?
Sure. Yes,
Okay.
I thought I did.
Yep, you're
Sorry
fine.
about that.
Okay, here we go.
Now we'll begin word study. Go ahead and get some paper and a pencil and write what you see on the screen in your notebook. All right, good job. I have the word car on the left side and the word boat on the right. When I hear the word car, I hear the R. When I hear the word boat, I hear the O. So I'm going to say some words. And if you hear the R like in car, I want you to write the word underneath the word car in your notebook. If the word sounds like it has the O, like the word boat, I want you to write it underneath the word boat in your notebook. Okay? If you need more time, just press pause on your screen. Sharp. Hard. Coach. Check it. Were you right? Now I want you to read all the words underneath of the word car. Sharp. Now let's read the words underneath of boat. Coach. Floating. Moan. Great job. If you did not spell the words correctly, just go back and fix it. Okay? Great job.
Okay. So you can see that was some ways that you can incorporate pre-recorded videos using the Screencastify and Google Slides. And then I'll show you some of the things that we have done with Google Slides to help with word work. You can see over here we have different things that you can do. You can add on audio and click on the audio to be able to play different words and sounds. You can also make the letters so they're movable. Put them in and out of the boxes for the students. And after they're finished, they can click on this and you can add on your own other Screencastify video to show them how to answer it after they've completed it on their own. So these are just some of the resources for making a big word. You can also do the same thing with picture sorts. You could have them have the pictures. They could click on the audio and be able to hear and then determine which one it goes under for the picture sorts. Same thing with analogy charts. These are all just on Google Slides. Again, having the audio up here, adding the Screencastify videos so they can see how to answer it when they're finished. And then here's some magnetic letters that you can copy and add onto there. Just like copy it and then add it onto the slide. Very, very easy. I have to give a special shout out to Casey Bishop. She is the one who helped us and taught us all how to do this. She's a wonderful teacher over at J-Town Elementary, and she developed these slides and how to use the audio and adding the Screencastify. She's just very creative. Thank you so much, Casey. So another thing you can do is use the Jamboards, which that's a personal favorite of mine. So if you wouldn't mind going in and clicking on the either a new word or analogy video for the Jamboard.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that in a minute.
Let me go down to, we'll click on analogy.
Okay.
And here we go.
Yeah.
Listen, spat.
It's underneath chat.
Very good. What comes first? For spat.
S.
Uh-huh.
P.
Mm-hmm.
A.
Mm-hmm.
T.
Okay, next word is snake. Say it slowly, if you're ready. Snake. Where would that go under?
Sake.
Very good. What comes first in snake?
S.
Mm-hmm.
A.
Say it slowly, it's ready. Snake.
N.
Yes. Then comes that.
A.
Yes. And then comes that.
K.
Mm-hmm. And then that.
E.
Excellent. Next word. Grape. Grape.
Under snake.
Okay, very good. What comes first in grape? You can go ahead and stop the video.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
For the sake of time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I was talking about the Jamboard. You can see it's more interactive. I'll show you how to use the Jamboard. You're going to first find it. Well, I'm going to go this way. You'll find it in your Google Waffle. You click on Jamboard. You can see I have many that I've already made that I've created for guided reading lessons and for different word work activities. So you'll click on that plus at the bottom to start a new one. And see it has different pages you can add. You can add Post-its to do letters. And then it can be moved around different ways. So I like doing that for word work. You can also have different pages and you can insert different things, like if you want to look for an analogy chart. You search that, find one you like, and upload it. And so it's right there. You can also, you can see you can share it with your students and they can write something and send it right back to you on the analogy chart, or they can make the words and send it right back to you. You can also write on it. So there's just so many different things you could do with Jamboards that it's just really easy. Oh, not to go. And so some of the teacher materials you need for word work, again, the Next Step Board and Guided Reading Book, whiteboard, magnetic letters if you have it at home. And then some of the optional student materials are letters. They can use magnetic letters if they have it. They can make their own paper letters. I mean, we've even used game pieces before. A dry erase board, paper and pencil, a chalkboard. Like I said, my nephew with his Magnadoodle, whatever you have available to write with for the word work or play around with for the word work. And so you can also do some pre-recorded lessons for writing. And so we can show that really quickly, the pre-recorded video for writing of how you can pre-record a video for that using Screencastify.
The pre-recorded?
The pre-recorded
Yep.
on Reddit, yeah.
Sorry.
We'll just show that one.
Here we go.
Thank you.
Now it's time for writing. Use your writing plan that you created while you were reading Fun for Pickles, the who, what, why table. And then I want you to choose one chapter and write a who, what, why statement for 2 characters. Use this chart to help you with your writing. Okay, go ahead and get started.
So you can see that's how you can implement the writing still, even though they're not sitting there with you, you can still have them write and then they can send it back to you. You can have parents take a picture, have them turn it back into Google Classroom. However you can do that. You can also have them write on a Jamboard. Here's an example of one that I did with my nephew. If it'll pull up. Where we wrote the first part together and then he wrote the bottom 3 parts on his own, and then his mom shared it back with me and I had it right there to be able to give him feedback immediately with that. So that's another way you can use the Jamboards for that, for either live lessons or for lessons that are pre-recorded. And then it's just really important to always give back feedback. So that's why you want to have them send it back to you so you can give them feedback. You can ask the parents to send a picture of the completed writing or through email, a text, Class Dojo, whatever you have, whatever they can have available. Again, materials for writing include paper, writing utensil, index cards, Post-it notes, virtual whiteboards, Jamboard, whatever. And so we're coming to the end of our of the presentation. First, I want to talk about that we have our team has developed a live Google site. So I want to show you that. Here's the members of our team, Zone 1 through 3, and then the AIS team. And click on that. If you have any questions, you can get in touch with one of us, and we'd be happy to help you. Again, like I said, our team has developed a live Google site. I'm going to take you to that really quickly and give you a quick tour before we run out of time. You see, here it is over here. We've got different things available. Some webinars are available, the digital readers, links to this presentation I'm giving now if you wanted to share with somebody else on your team or at your school. We've got guided reading lessons from pre-A all the way through level N and higher. I'll show you an example of what that looks like. So you want to click on level E, you need level E, you can see there's the book introduction. These are all pre-recorded lessons, book introduction, word study, writing. We even added the slides on there for you. We also have some whole class lessons for primary and intermediate that go along with all the different JAN comprehension modules over here. So if you wanted to teach them, if you're working on beginning, middle, and end, you can pick one of these videos and share it with your class or share it with a group. And there's slides to go along with that too. So you've got all those different resources for this. And we also have different things for the word study. If you wanted to make a big word, we've got the template. And we've got different activities already loaded up on here for you. So got lots of different resources. And the last thing is I want to show you, we also have a link up to the different webinars available through the Pioneer Valley. And so there's an upcoming one on the May 21st. We also have several past ones. I highly recommend if you're planning on doing this to watch this April 7th one using digital books to teach guided reading remotely, because it'll show you how to use those digital books and how to put it into the students, assigning books to the different students. So that's one I highly recommend. And that's about it.
Well, awesome. Thank you so much for coming back and sharing all this knowledge with us, Tara. We appreciate it.
And thank you so much for helping out with the videos.
Oh,
I appreciate that.
No problem. Everybody tuning in, just remember you can find all of this information if you go to jcps.me/NTI, click on the teacher toolkit, go to the digital learning schedule. You can find Tara's presentation linked up under her name right there. Thank you again. I hope you have a great weekend. Oh, I think she left already. Alrighty, it is 10:57, so very quickly before we get going here, just a couple reminders. Remember, you can find all of these presentations on the virtual or the digital learning support schedule. If you want to continue to learn with us, you can go to Twitter and follow us at JCPSDI. That stands for Digital Innovation. You can also subscribe to us on YouTube, and all of the videos that we have on this training channel you can find broken up eventually and placed into different support playlists. So almost all of them are put in the NTI support playlist, but something like what we just saw would be placed in the primary teacher playlist as well, and probably placed in the English teacher playlist too. You can also search for videos, so if you wanted to find more information on early childhood development or early learning, you can type early into that search bar there, and you can find some of the videos that we've already had that have gone through here. So coming up at the 11 o'clock hour, our second to last session for the morning is #KCAN2, and that is a group of awesome all-star teachers from around the district led by our digital innovation leader, Kathleen Receiver, for Zone 2. If you want to continue on with the conversation as well, on Monday at 8 o'clock, we are going to have our final JCPS Dig in Twitter chat. The questions were developed by two high school digital innovation leaders, Brian Quillen and Jackie Hongren. And we have the assistant superintendent for high schools, Christy Rogers, that will be joined by Kim Morales and Joseph Ellison, her executive administrators as well. So please tune in. Even though the questions were developed by high school leaders, they are not just for high school people. They are for everyone to come in and join in on the conversation. We'll be reflecting on NTI, and we'll be talking about what our future looks like into the summer and the fall. So, awesome elementary leaders, it is great to have you on here. I'm going to turn it over to you. Take it away.
All right. Thank you so much, Matt, for that introduction. And I'm excited for our chat Monday night as well. We've invited some of our district leaders at our assistant superintendent meetings this morning, so hopefully they'll join us. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with everyone. I'm really excited about this show. This is one of my passions for education, as well as integrating technology, is doing that with littles, or #KCAN2. So I'm going to go ahead and, of course, I did not turn off notifications because I'm doing a million things. So, oh my goodness. I have with me Karen Stone, and she is from Young Elementary. So I'm really excited to have her. She's a kindergarten teacher at Young Elementary. And I also have with us, we have Jessica Cullen. She's here as well. What am I doing, Matt?
I'm not really sure.
Sorry, I have children with me in here that won't leave, so it's just going to be a little crazy for a minute. All right. Text size, extra large. There we go. Closed captions. Awesome. So I have Emily Blake with me, and she is from Blake Elementary, another Zone 2 school, and Jessica Cullen as well. And Jessica's from Eisenhower. Also, Rebecca Reynolds couldn't make it with us today. She had emergency situation to attend to, so she had to go to that. And also we have Shannon with us. So we are really excited to have these rock stars with us today. All right. So one thing that we want to bring to your attention, and Matt already did that for us, is talking about the Twitter chat and following the JCPS Dig In hashtag, as well as the Gate for Littles hashtag. You'll find a lot of great resources and ideas there. And Jessica, do you want to talk to us about the next part?
Sure. I went ahead and made something called a Jamboard. So if you click on, when you're in the slides, that picture of kind of my brain exploding, it'll take you to this Jamboard. If you don't know about Jamboard, there's a couple of different sessions you can watch on JCPS's digital learning channel about Jamboards. But what you would do is just click on a sticky note, type your question, and then we can go back and answer them here.
Awesome. So that Jamboard is there, and I think I text that to Matt, so hopefully he can get that to the chat for you. So there. All right. So one thing that I'm going to talk about just briefly before we get started, and they are going to take it away, is digital citizenship. And I really believe that teaching digital citizenship to our students is one of the most important things you can teach them. And if people didn't believe me before when I said that information, they probably believe it more now since we are in this pandemic and at home. But it's really important for even at kindergarten to start teaching digital citizenship to your students. And this can be done very easily starting on the first day of school. So linked here for you, and this presentation is linked on our virtual schedule, but linked here for you is the a pacing guide. And so I'm not going to click on it now, but when you click on it, it will go all the way from, I think, K through 12th grade. And there are lessons linked here from Common Sense Media and other places. So really good information and resources for you on that slide. And then also this next slide, and doing some research with Littles and K-Can too, Christine, and I'm going to mess up her name again, Jessica Pinko, she worked on a book that we referenced before when we have done this training with Google's and Littles Can Create with Google tools. And also I've found that she is working with another kindergarten teacher, and they have a lesson called Innovating Play. And this website is full of templates and things that you can do for your students to where they can create with technology. And since we are in this crazy time right now, they have a ton of resources also for how to teach your students virtually. And one thing that I found was this K-Mail or Kid Mail. And it talks about how right now you can teach your students about sending letters or mail, even though some of us seem to think that email is slowly going away, but still you can still teach those writing strategies to your students, and even collaborate with other kindergarten teachers or other kindergarten classes and send kid mail to them. So that is linked up here for you. And that template is in a Google slide deck, and it's a really, really great resource. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Karen Kenderstone to talk about what she does with her kiddos during this period.
All right, you might have to click that one more time. I don't know how that happened. All right, hello everybody. So I am at Whitney Young, and we are an AIS school, and we are like 99 or 100% free and reduced lunch. And so we have a very high ESL population. And so a lot of the things that I'm doing are related to kind of meeting the needs of that population as well. So one of the things we did when we first started was we had to come up with some rules and a rule activity for Google Meet. And Kathleen, if you click on the presentation link for me. And one of the things we did, we just related it to what we do at school every day. So we talked about the rules that we have in school. We played a video of David Meets, because that's one of the activities we do at the beginning of the school year. If you scroll down a little bit, Kathleen, after we watch that video, then we kind of play a game where we ask them to, so we ask, do you remember the school rules? And we play a game, thumbs up, thumbs down, about the rules. That was a video of a little girl who's their age, and she's going over common sense practices for behavior, in a Google Classroom. And then we just go over some scenarios that were in the book, and they can thumbs up and thumbs down about their behavior. If you go down one more, so it's just an example. So do you get up and walk around the classroom? Do you eat food while the teacher's teaching? Thumbs up and thumbs down. And then at the end, we just ask them to talk about ways that they can contribute to the Google Classroom. They draw and write about the rules in the classroom. And so that's one of the things we did at the beginning to help them become familiar with the Google rules. All right, the next slide. For our students, in our classroom every day, we put our lesson plans on a Google slide. Can you click that link for me, Kathleen? So when we're at the beginning of our classroom day, we go over our slides with our students every day. And this is a slide that we put on for NTI, but our slides have the link to our message from our principal, our morning meeting message. It has our literacy. Everything we do is on a Google slide, and we review it like an agenda every day for our students. So we took that concept and brought it over to to NTI, so that our students could know that you have an activity to do all the different activities, and they just click through the slides. And one of the things we're going to do next year is we're going to try to do a flipped classroom model with our students and give some front loading and some activities on the slides that they can watch. Some of our students may need some front loading with shapes or things like that, shapes in the real world, or they may need some front loading with the alphabet. And so we're going to place Google Slides in their not their backpack, I'm sorry. We're going to place the Google Slides in the classroom and have it available for them to be able to get some front loading. But this is something that they knew how to do on their own because we practiced it every day in the classroom. We have students who change the slide for us, or if they missed something in an assignment, they knew how to go up to the smart board and click back to see what they missed. Okay? All right. Alrighty. So we also, because a lot of our students are in care during the day and not at home with their parents, and accessing Google Classroom was difficult for them, or we put all of our stuff on a slide. On a Google Sites for our parents. And so if you click that, Kathleen, it'll make the site bigger. Yeah, yeah, okay, so we put everything on the front. The slide is on the front, and for some reason, the slide's missing, but they can click the slide. But we also have the slide in Spanish. Our ESL department just went through and copied that. Links to all the classrooms, to Clever, anything they needed was on this forward-facing slide. We invited our counselor to add something to it, and she had a book and a digital check-in. And so that was just a one-stop shop for our families. And we used a tiny URL that said KinderCats at the end so that they could remember it, or we could, send it to them instead of that big, long Google Hangout. So we try to use something catchy that they might remember. And we had a lot of success with that. And we plan to continue to use that forward for homework and things like that for our families. Okay, the next slide. Okay, so one of the things that we wanted to do, if you saw on that first slide, it had, we had some things on there for in English and Spanish. And one of the things I wanted to do is some of our families struggled with being able to understand or read some of the work that we gave them. And my kids struggled with reading the instructions. And so we wanted to make it as easy as possible because we realized that like 60% of our students were getting on by themselves and completing the work. And so we needed to give them good directions. And so one of the things I wanted to do was provide instruction for them in an auditory. And because Google Slides does not have an ability to link audio, Kathleen recommended this video for voiceovers in Google Slides. And there's a link there if you want to watch the video. But it uses Screencastify. So in order to front load for our students and using a flipping classroom scenario, you would just need your Screencastify, Google Translate, Google Slides, and YouTube. Okay, so those are the things that we all have available to us. All right, next slide.
I think that's so exciting, Karen, that you're already thinking for next year and how you will help your students. And for those who can't do it, there may be some that can't, but for those who can, they'll be able to have access to those materials at home with their families. So that's great.
Okay. So it is easy, like I said, 1, 2, 3. So the first thing I do is I open up Google Translate and I type in whatever I need translated. As I have the arrows showing, once it's translated, it will speak it back in that language. Once I have whatever I want to say, and it will go on for minutes if you type that much in there. And usually what I do is I just click on the other side, the the speaker, and I just speak everything I want. It captures it, and then it translates it. I click the button that sounds like looks like a microphone, not the microphone, but looks like you're listening, and it just speaks it back. So right before I speak it, I click that button, I open up my Screencastify, I give myself like a 5, 4, 3, 2 countdown, and then I click the button and it records everything that's saying in whatever language. And there's like a bazillion languages on Google Translate, and it translates it into that. Once I've saved that recording, I just upload it into my Google Slide. And then I place it on the screen, and the kids can click that and they can hear all the directions in their native language, whatever language you need. Okay. All right. So then I know I used to go into Google and say if I wanted something, I would type first day of school in Spanish or rules in Spanish. And it did not give me very much information or give me very much in that language. But it would, maybe one video would pop up. But if I wanted to share content with my students in another language, I had to figure out how to find that. And my searching abilities were not that great. So I discovered that we could find content in another language just by changing the YouTube browser. And so all you need is YouTube and Google Translate to do this. Okay.
Exciting.
Okay. So first, you just go to on your YouTube page and click your icon, like where your picture is, and then it will drop down. And I'm sorry they can't see this too well, but it drops down and it says choose your language. Once you click that, the next slide shows you click the language that you'd like to search in. And once that's pulled up, your browser, your search engine will change to the language that you need. So I use Spanish or buscar because it means to look. Okay, so you know you are successfully searching in that language once you've done that. Okay, so we can click to the next slide. So then I go back into my Google Translate and I type, what am I looking for? So I'm saying I'm looking for school rules. Okay, so it comes up in Spanish. That where the squares are, I copy that and I paste it in my search box. And then all of a sudden, all of these things come up about school rules in Spanish. And while I can speak some Spanish, if I'm looking, I found it in Romanian, I found it in 1,000 languages, different things about school rules. I just view the video as we would normally to make sure, that it's saying what we wanted to do, we wanted to do, that, nothing crazy pops up in the middle of it. And then I place it in a slide. And so the students who may not speak English will still have access to something that we're doing. And it may not be exactly the same, but I found lessons on here about reading lessons. I found lessons for math on here and a variety of languages. I just picked about 5 languages that I've dealt with over the last couple of years, and I could literally find content in all of those lessons.
That's awesome, and that's really helpful for the teachers too. Or excuse me, the parents, not the teachers.
Mm-hmm. Helpful for parents. So this is how we implemented it on our Google Slides. And so we were doing a nonfiction writing piece. And so they had, we learned about horses. And my students speak Spanish, the ones that really kind of need it. I have one student who speaks Arabic, but their parents speak English. And so we just needed to do it in Spanish. And so they have horses, and then they have another lesson about horses in Spanish. And in both cases, they have the exact same set of directions right above them. And you can upload your Screencastify in English, onto YouTube and drop it in, or you can leave it in your Google Classroom and just add a link. And for me, it was easier to put it in YouTube, just because it was easier for me at the moment. So the next one is started using Symbaloo a little bit, and Symbaloo it's a cloud-based browser that allows you to personalize links for kids, and you can make it a page like when they first get on. It's Clever friendly. Okay, so once you upload it into Clever, it makes it adds all of your kids and gives them a Symbaloo page. And so you can differentiate or individualize your instruction if you want these kids to have access to these links or another set of links. But my favorite feature in Symbaloo is the Symbaloo learning path. And this allows you to create a path for students to do research. And so like I had created a learning path just about butterflies. So they could, within this, they can watch videos, they can have articles, you can link games if there's a game that you want them to do. And they just go from one path to another. This feature also allows you to track their progress. You can drop in questions along the way if you want for them to answer. You can drop in your own personal videos if you want to give a direction. There is a ton of pre-made lessons ahead of time that teachers have done, and it's all free. And again, once you log into Clever and add Symbaloo to your Clever, it automatically populates all of your students and gives them a Symbaloo account.
And, Symbaloo has been around for a while, and I think people have forgotten about it, but they keep on making it better and better, just like this learning path. So I didn't know about that. That's awesome.
Yeah, and so it really does give kids the opportunity to be independent. And in the front load, I'm really about the front loading because a lot of our kids don't have access to some of the knowledge that we're expected to have immediately. And then in order to differentiate that for those students who might be, on the talented spectrum, who might need to go that level above. And once you've created these, you can always go back and use them. So Kathleen says, work smarter, not harder. We create things now, create things with a buddy, and share them. And
yeah, absolutely. That's awesome. And thank you so much, Karen, for that great information. And I think next we have Jessica. Ladies, if you click on me, like on the slide, on the square in the bottom, it'll come up full screen for you so you can see it bigger. I think that may be what you were talking about. And I apologize about my daughter's noise and the Barbies in the background. So Jessica, we're excited to hear from you.
Okay. This is just a slide about some building digital literacy. You can build digital literacy. This can be used in and out of the classroom. It can be used like virtually. This is something I used virtually over NTI, where I just made a kind of like a making words, make a big word is what it was from Jane Richardson. And you can see the little speaker. That's where I told them what the word was, distraction. And then on the right side is where that's what the student turned back into me in Google Classroom. So it's just a quick little part of a guided reading work. You can go to the next slide. Thank you. Back to organization a little bit. I wanted to kind of show what I've done outside the classroom during this NTI, and then also in the classroom looking ahead. So I use agenda slides in my classroom, where on my smartboard, there's always a slide up, kind of, it's like our digital schedule. The left side where it says like Tuesday, May 12th, that's what my kids are seeing at home during this break. They have their little agenda slide where it has, one, this is your first activity to do, second for each subject. The little screen beside that where it says reading workshop, that's more what I used in the classroom that I was able to change, in person. Also in Google Classroom, it made it very simple for my kids to find the assignments by week. I had a topic for each week, and then underneath that week or that topic was each of my assignments. And I would, Monday math, and they would go to that. I wanted to make it as simple as could be for my students, as well as the parents or the guardians that are at home who are not familiar with this as well as we are as teachers. I also use emojis that helps, non-readers or to see, okay, on my agenda slide today, Ms. Cullen said to do math. I see a minus symbol with it. I can quickly go find that on my Google Classroom. I think it just helped them be able to locate that. You can go to the next slide. Then some more digital literacy with guided reading. I got a lot of these ideas from JCPS teachers. mostly on Twitter and on the Learning Channel. There's an analogy chart, and again, to use those voiceovers like Karen was talking about. I use Screencastify for that, and I also use an online tool. I think it's just audio online recording. It's very easy. They had a book from Jan Richardson's collection on the Pioneer Village that you saw earlier that they watched online or read online, and then they were able to, on Google Slides, type in during their reading. These are all lessons that are Jan Richardson that we're all implementing in our classroom. So these are ways that they have been able to keep up with it at home and build those skills. And then next year, depending on what our days are going to look like, if we're in school, they can do this, they can type, they can write. It's just a great way for them to be able to still do this guided reading at home. You can go to the next slide. Thank you. Here is just some like app smashing a little bit. We really like Flipgrid in my classroom. This is stuff I actually did in the classroom. I would have the first little thing is they would have a QR code, they would scan it, they would hear me saying a sentence, and it was just a dictated sentence, and that went along with the feature of our phonics feature for the week. And I could grade that really quickly. And there's also a picture. I would say a couple sight words and they had to write them. Then they took a picture of themselves with their whiteboard. And that's another way to quickly assess sight words. They're doing that in reading workshop while I'm doing guided reading. Right at the end of, well, it wasn't the end of the year, but in March, before it went on break, we were working on really fluently reading. My kids would read a page from their guided reading book on Flipgrid, and then the other students, we were practicing listening to them, listening for what they were doing well with fluency and what they needed to work on. And so they had a little paper that they would fill out. And it was just a great way to incorporate that digital aspect in the classroom, and you can keep it going virtually if you needed to, where they could read from home on Flipgrid or on Screencast, whatever format you want to use or tool you want to use, and still be listening to that fluency, or possibly do a running record that way. You can go to the next slide. Oh, I did put Kahoot on there. There's a little bit about Kahoot where they could play games. That's a fun, really fun web-based tool that we use in the classroom, where you can do it self-paced. They can do it at home or just by themselves in the classroom, or you can play as a whole. Student choice. Student choice is really big in my classroom, and I really I like giving my students that opportunity to shine in their way. This is some examples of things my kids have been doing this break, actually this last week. I have a choice board, bees. They could choose bees or ladybugs. These kids chose bees. I think that when you can go into these slides, you can actually go to this book that this little girl made about cool rockin' bees. She made that on her own with Book Creator, put in content and the little speech bubbles. This was all on her own. I didn't give any kind of guidance except a link to Book Creator and said, hey, go to Book Creator, show me what you learned. Yes, there it is. It's awesome. I was blown away by her ability to do that. It's a great backpack piece. The other students on here, they had an opportunity to make, a habitat for the bees out of something at home. One used Legos, one used Play-Doh. So it's a great way to incorporate that virtual piece as well as hands-on. And you can see that they chose different things to do. And that's something that can totally do in the classroom or at home. All right, these are Rebecca's slides, but I know she is going to listen from where she's at, so hopefully I don't mess them up for her. But she has put in here, when she has Google Meets, Rebecca has this slide presented already as soon as they come in. She has 2 devices going, and she recommends that so that you can see this slide and then see her students on her other device. And then on the next slide, she has provided a blank one for everyone that they can put their own pictures in, Bitmojis in, and that's a great way. I've seen some of these that people are using, and it's a great way to, get those norms, those expectations to the students before their meets begins. All right. She wanted to talk about digital literacy as well. She's added 3 tools that she uses with her students to work in teams to build their digital literacy. She wants it to be important for her students, and it's important for all our littles to have mouse skills, depending if you have in the classroom or at home. If they have iPads, laptops, desktops, they all have different ways to do things such as like drag and click. So you can make a copy of these and use them in your classroom. That way your kids can work together, and it's really fun. And she's this level up game. I have never played it. I would like to see it. You can go to the next slide.
All right. And we only have a few minutes left. You guys are so awesome. I'm going to kind of skip through hers for a minute so I can make sure that, and they're in the slides. So thank you, Rebecca. And actually we could do a part 2 if we needed to, but I want to make sure that Shannon and Emily get a chance. So I'm going to skip through if that's okay.
Hi, I'm Shannon Crutcher. I teach kindergarten at Coral Ridge Elementary, and a friend of mine is an ESL teacher actually in New York. She moved there last year, and when we were starting all this, she said, "Have you heard of Seesaw?" And I said no. And it's a platform where everything can be. I'm not going to read over what's great for students and what's for teachers. The big thing for students I found great is you can record audio and video for them. And for teachers, the basic version is free, and I like anything that's free. So you can go on to the next slide. There's 3 different ways to log in. My school is not one-to-one for K and first grade. So they give you different ways to log in. So if your kids are one-to-one, you can log in one way. If it's not and they have shared devices, there's a different way. And then parents can also do home learning, and they have a code they can log in that way. So it's very user-friendly in that it gives you several ways to log in, not just one certain way. Because I know QR codes for most of my kids are pretty easy, but for some parents, QR codes did not make any sense to them. So giving them a numerical and alphabetical code made more sense. All right, you can click over. There is an activity library, and you name it, somebody has already created it. So you can go in, you can save it to your own library, and then you can also edit it. So you can change it to make it exactly what you need for your kids without completely reinventing the wheel. Okay, you can go to the next one. One of the ones I did make myself was kind of a PBL/STEM kind of thing. So this is what an activity looks like for them. They can click to the left, and there was a video about how to invent toys, how to make toys. Then I used Google Slides to make a template. I uploaded that into the system, and when the kids click add response, which is that little green button there on the right hand side, the template pops up. And then there are different ways. If you go to the next slide, you can see 2 of my kids did it in 2 different ways. The little girl on the left typed it all in and drew a picture using her iPad. The little boy on the right actually uploaded a picture, but then if you click on him, you don't have to do that now. But if you're looking at the slides and you click on him, he'll talk, and he talks through his answers to the questions. So it allows your kids that aren't maybe comfortable writing quite yet, they can orally give you the answers and the information that you need.
Awesome.
Okay, go to the next one.
We have you all have a huge fan base in the chat right now. We have 79 people in the chat. Lots of shout outs to all of you, Karen, and a lot of people from Blake Elementary. So we have so much information that we are running over on our time. So let's see, go ahead.
You can go to the next one. That just shows them how they know
Okay.
theirs were posted.
Good. Emily, can you talk real quickly? I'm so sorry that you're saving the best for last here. And I know the next session coming up actually is very similar to what you're talking about with the Bitmojis in the classroom. So that our viewers that are on right now, if you're liking what Emily's saying, just hold on with this for the next session.
Oh, I think you're muted.
Yep, you might be muted, Emily.
There we go.
There you go.
I've been a behind the scene support person for NTI, mostly with our building. So we created several just visual graphics that were easy navigation for our ESL families, for our younger ones to work independently. So on here, this gave access to all of the special area teachers. We kind of took them out of the Google Classrooms because it was getting clunky and just so much content. It was hard to filter through it. So
I think that's great. One place for one place for parents to go to, just one place for
right.
all the
So
special areas. So
whatever special area they need, to get assignments from or contact, you can click on the graphic and it takes you to that, teachers section.
Awesome. So for our viewers, that's a great resource. When you click on these graphics, it'll take you, it'll take you there. And I know, Emily, you said this is your Bitmoji classroom,
yes.
Right?
So this is actually kind of a new thing this week. It's kind of been the latest craze. But my younger ones have just grabbed onto it immediately this week through Google Meets. So again, just that visual recognition. This is set up like my room at home. That one is my actual library at school. So they can click on familiar objects and get to familiar content.
It's also a great way to teach kids. And again, the next session is talking about this. This looks so good, and I love your library at Blake. So shout out to all of our librarians that are maybe joining us today. But Emily's library is gorgeous. When they hover over, it turns into a hand. That's something I had to teach my little ones. So that's a great way to teach them how they know what is a link on these Bitmoji classrooms. So
I just tried to do the visual, recognition, just make it simple. They can't read the words, but they can see something that's familiar to them and, click on it, and then it jumps them right to whatever it is that they need. So tried to kind of centralize information, but make it simple and fun at the same time for all users, whether young or fifth grade, ESL, whatever.
Right. This is awesome. And also for our viewers, if you check out Blake Elementary and follow Emily on Twitter, you can see some more really cool stuff that Blake Elementary has done. And lastly, Shannon found this for us, and I love this graphic. I think it's gorgeous. But this is a free virtual conference next week on May 26th. Or wait, is that next week or the next week? May 26th. If you click on the image here in the slides, it'll take you to the link to register, and you can see Jerry Brooks is going to be there, and a lot of these people I follow on Twitter. So it's going to be a really awesome session.
And I will say the K1 version is free, and the other versions they're charging for.
Okay.
So if you're a K1 teacher, definitely jump in because this is usually pretty expensive.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, so KCAN2, all of our KCAN2 fans, make sure you jump into this. I know I'm going to be there to see what they have and all the resources. Sorry that we ran over a little bit, Matt, but thank you so much to these ladies and to Rebecca Reynolds for putting in all the great resources in this slide as well.
Yeah, thank you all so much. You all are clearly the most popular people that I've seen in a while. We have almost 100 people watching right now, so that just shows how awesome the work you all are doing is. So thank you.
Yay.
Alrighty, so we are going to move right into our next session. We have our final session of the morning. We have Rachel Johnson doing creating a Bitmoji virtual classroom pre-K through 5. So go ahead and take it away.
Okay, let me share my screen really quick.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, yeah, we can.
Can you see it?
Yep.
All right. So, hi everyone. My name is Rachel Johnson, and I am an ESL teacher at Goodermuth Elementary. And today we're just going to talk about creating a Bitmoji classroom, but then also we're going to be talking about resources that you could put into your classroom as well. And like the girl said before this presentation, Bitmoji classrooms are like all the rage right now, and they're all over Twitter, and it's what everyone's talking about. So, I can't take credit for creating it, but it kind of sparked my interest once it was sent to me by my resource teacher. And I started thinking about, okay, how can I make this fit for ESL students? What can I put in here that's going to keep them coming back each week? How am I going to keep them engaged? So that's what we're going to be talking about today. So as you can see, there's a lot of different things in this classroom, and we're going to talk about those. And then also later on, I'm going to show you the steps on how to create it. What makes these so great is that, and sharing them with others, is that we're getting to see kind of what other teachers are doing. We always want that opportunity to go and observe other teachers in their classrooms. So this is a perfect way to do that without having to leave your own classroom. So getting to see the resources that they're using, the mini lessons they're posting, what's working for them is a really great feature. So besides these being really fun and cute to make, they have so many benefits that make them great for our students. So the main one being that they're engaging, and they are engaging because of they're interactive. Students are getting to click, they're getting to search through your rooms, maybe you're putting manipulatives in there. So they're getting to build, get that STEM. So students really enjoy that. You're giving them choice, allowing them to choose books that they're interested in or activities that they enjoy. And differentiation is a big one for me. Because of all the differentiation we do for our English language learners. These Bitmoji classrooms are providing visuals, providing interaction opportunities, building background knowledge, and scaffolding is great for them.
Rachel, sorry,
yes.
Speaking of differentiation, do you care to turn your closed captioning on for us while you're presenting?
Oh, yeah, sorry.
No, you're okay. Thank you.
Okay, I think I did it.
Hopefully, yeah. Oh, it says up at the top you have to allow it to use your microphone.
Okay.
There you go. Thanks. Sorry about that.
Oh, this is okay. And also, the next piece of this is that Bitmoji classrooms can be used across multiple content areas. I've seen so many different classrooms on Twitter, and they've ranged from music teachers to art teachers. So don't feel that if you're not a classroom teacher, you can't do this, because that's definitely not true. There are so many ways that you can make this work for what you teach in the groups of students that you teach. So I'm gonna get into some resources that you can use. This slide is available on the digital channel. So if you want access to these resources, you can. All you have to do is just click the logo, and it's going to take you right to the website, so you can try them out. All of the ones that have an asterisk next to them are ones that you're going to need an account for, but we all know mostly during this time a lot of things are free, so I would definitely check some of these out. I broke them into categories for you guys so you can see the different options that are out there. There are read alouds, leveled readers, articles, multiple language books, and manipulatives. So you can see these are a lot of literacy resources, but if you guys have any additional resources that you have found during this time that have worked really well with your students, drop them in the chat and share them with others so we can keep building these classrooms. So I'm going to talk about one of each of these when we get into the classroom. I wish I could go through each one because they're all so great, but like I said, if you have some time later to play around with some of these, I would definitely check that out. So before we move on, I just wanted to say that the best part of this is being able to see other people's classrooms on Twitter. So if you make a Bitmoji classroom and post it on Twitter, make sure you use the hashtag JCPS virtual room, and then we can all share our rooms with each other. And if you do not have a Twitter account, I highly suggest it. You are able to connect and network with so many teachers from all across the district, so it's a really good resource for teaching as well. So let's start taking a look around here. This is just an example Bitmoji room that I made for this presentation, but it's similar to what I would use with the students. And you can see there's just different resources here. So if you look at the smart board, there's a video there, and it's just a mini lesson on summarizing that I made for 5th grade a couple weeks back. So something that you could do with your smart board or your dry erase board in your room is post videos. They could be mini lessons that you've created. They could be mini lessons that you found on YouTube. Any way that you can incorporate those is great. Also, I've seen teachers put their objectives on the whiteboard, their assignments for the week, or even a teacher had a link to sign up for small group guided reading sessions. So, the possibilities are endless with these classrooms. Let's dive into the bookshelf really quick. I'm going to go through these pretty quick so we can get more into how to make the room. This first example is a Reading A to Z book. And Reading A to Z is a program. It does cost money, but they always have a 2-week free trial if you want to try it out. They have a lot of great resources, leveled readers, shared reading, articles, vocabulary, writing, anything you can think of, they have it. So the only thing about these, though, I like to screen record myself reading the text so I can model for the students what a good reader does, go over vocabulary, comprehension questions throughout the text. So you won't see any YouTube videos on here, and that's mainly too because of the privacy settings students are having with YouTube. So if there's any way you can avoid YouTube, I would suggest that. So when students are in this classroom and they click on this particular book, it's going to take them to the link of my Screencastify in my Google Drive. So if I were to click it here, it's going to take them straight to the video in my Screencastify folder on my Google Drive. And that's just a way so you don't have to worry, are students able to watch it? Are they having problems viewing it? Because they shouldn't have any problems if you're sharing it that way. Another great resource here is Unite for Literacy. And if you haven't heard of that, it is a series. They have tons of books, and what's so great about them is that they have the narration in different languages. So if your school has a high population of English language learners, a high population of newcomers, this website is going to be really great for you to use in your room. So all they have to do here is you could just scan through the pages. You can press the English microphone and it's going to read the text in English. And then you could choose another language and press that and it will read it in that language as well. They have so many languages on here: Somali, Swahili, Spanish, Arabic, and the list goes on. So like I said, if you have high population of ESL students, this is definitely a website for you. The next one is Pebble Go, and Pebble Go is another great site with articles, and they have different areas of focus. They have social studies, biographies, animals. The only thing is you need a login. I know that our school has this program. I'm not sure if all schools do. You check with your school librarian if you are curious. I know that they are doing a free trial right now of all of the content areas for free, so you can definitely do that. But why the layout of this is so great is because it breaks everything down into different sections. It also gives options of listening. They give videos, activities, there's different photos. So just another great visual for literacy there. The next one is a website called Books, which is books with a V. And what's really great about this website is that it takes really popular books and makes them kind of into movies, but still has the words on the screen. So I'm going to show you a little example of it. I think about our students and how much they enjoy YouTube and Netflix, and I thought that this was just a great way to incorporate reading, kind of tricking them into thinking they're watching a movie, but they're really reading themselves. So this is Extra Yarn. But you can see it's just fun and it's animated and the text is highlighted as it's reading. So we need that one-to-one matching for our students. Another one is Tumble Books, which can be found on the Kentucky Virtual Library on your school's library site. These are great too. I hadn't really played with these that much until here recently, but they were kind of reminded me like books because they're animated. Some of them you can read online. Some of them you can watch a video. They have a kind of like books of the movie. They come with quizzes, so just different options there. Here's just this sample. So you can just start playing it. You have these features here. You can scroll through the book, and just another great resource. And the last book I'm going to show is from a website called Rivet. And Rivet is really great because you do not need a login at all. And all you have to do is copy the link, and students are going to have to create an account or anything. They have leveled books, and they go from level 1 to a level 7. But when you go to the website, it tells you what letter that associates with. But what makes Rivet so great is all of their books are books that are really engaging for students. They have usually a lot of books from YouTube that they've made into books, so things that kids would really enjoy. So you can see all you have to do is click here through the arrows, and then there's an option for listening by clicking this little cat right here. So another fun little resource there. And the last one I'm going to show you is the virtual manipulatives. And someone shared these on Twitter this week, and I was like, oh my gosh, where have these been all of my life? They are so cool. I have this one linked to cubes, but if you go to teacher tools here, you can see all of these math virtual manipulatives. And then if you scroll down to the bottom, they do have 2 literacy. They have Elkonin boxes and alphabet tiles that you could use. But these are so great if you're wanting students to do some math activities in a fun, interactive way. So those are just some samples of resources. I wanted to say, though, don't feel that you have to make a traditional classroom when making these Bitmoji rooms, because I've seen some where people are at Target, some where people are at Starbucks. So, have fun with it. I think about doing thematic units with these Bitmoji classrooms and really taking it to another level to build background knowledge for our students. For English language learners, they need that connection so they can comprehend concepts more in depth. So by doing that, giving them more visuals, it's a perfect way to do that. So an example of that would be
Rachel, this is Heather Worrell, and we are so glad that you are featuring this. It looks so fun and interactive, but I think a lot of people in the chat have the same question that I have. Okay. What is this? Is this a site? Is it a Google slide? I love all the resources you're sharing, but what is this thing that you're anchoring them to?
It's Google Slides.
This is a Google slide. Yeah. Okay, could you talk to us, because the resources are great, but could you be just very specific on how do we even get to the site or the slide to link everything to?
Well, that's kind of like the next step. I was going to go into how to create one. Right now, I'm just kind of giving some resources people could use.
Okay, but I think that's the burning question. So you did answer that for me. It's a Google slide. And so what Rachel is doing is she's showing everything that you can link to the slide. But Bitmoji Classroom is not another platform. It's just a Google slide. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay, carry on.
Okay, so I'll get to how to create it in a second. I just wanted to make sure that everybody, because I know some people are already out there making their own, and I wanted to give them some additional resources as they continue on during NTI. So this is just an example of if you're doing a thematic unit for example, the rainforest. You're placing your classroom in the rainforest, you're inserting your Bitmoji, and you're choosing texts that pertain to that theme. Also, this is actually my assignment for next week for my second graders, taking them somewhere virtually that they will really enjoy. They're going to be reading about roller coasters, recording a Flipgrid, giving them the option to check out how Ferris wheels and merry-go-rounds and cotton candy are made, and then giving them the option to build their own amusement park ride with those virtual manipulatives in the cubes. And then the last example I have is an example from our school, Miss Gentry. She created her Bitmoji classroom, but she used the forest because they're learning about the forest habitat. So she linked all of her animals to Pebble Go, and rather than having a bookshelf. So there's so many ways that you can do this, which makes it so great. So now the dying question is, how do we make it? So we're going to get into that right now. So you're going to need Google Slides, Google Images, a website called remove.bg and a Bitmoji extension. If you're working from a Chromebook, the Bitmoji extension can be found in the Play Store or the web store, and it's just going to add it to the top of your screen. Here are some steps. I'm going to go through it with you so you can see how to do it. But if you look back at the slide and you want to just read through, that is there for you. So I'm going to go ahead and walk you through the steps. So the first thing, you have your Google slide, but you need to insert your background. So what you'll do is you'll go to Google, and if you're doing a traditional classroom, you can type in an empty room wallpaper. And that's going to take you to all of these choices. You can see there's a lot of options. There's even some that already have furniture included in them. So if you wanted something like this, all you have to do is right click and save it as an image. Personally, for me, I like to make my own room. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually type in a floor. And you have to be careful with these because they're not all laid out perfectly. You want one where the floor and the wall are attached in its landscape mode, so it won't be grainy when you insert it as your background on Google Slides. So once again, you just save this image. And then you want to go back to Google Slides and you want to insert this as your background. And we want to do it as the background because as you start to add objects to your room, you don't want your background to shift around as you're clicking and moving things around. So you want that to be stationary. So you can see it's all inserted. Now the wallpaper is white, so if you don't like that, you can change the color of it by just simply putting in a shape.
Rachel, real quick, you're probably going to get several questions, so just be prepared. That's okay. So the question is, this is not an extension. This is just you going to Google Images and pulling in images from Google, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I love this. Very innovative.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to pause that really quick. I pre-recorded that video before, so I didn't have to mess with it when we were doing it live. But so you could, for a wallpaper, you can just insert an image and put it over top of the white space if you don't want your wallpaper to be white. So after you do that, you can start adding your furniture. So the next thing to do that I usually put in first is the bookshelf, since that's going to be like my main thing on there. So to do that, you just go, oops, I keep clicking through here. You can go to Google again and just type in empty bookshelf. And once again, there's a lot of options. You want one that doesn't have any markings on it. You'll see some that you really like, but then you'll click it and it's a paid image. It costs money, but they have so many free ones. So you want one that's clean and crisp. This one is a really good option. I like this one because it has multiple shelves. So I'm going to just copy and paste it into my Google slide. And it's that simple. Now, if you're wanting to add other furniture, you may find some that have a background to them. So I'm going to put in a kidney table because when I'm making these, I like to put objects that the kids are familiar with in my actual room. And we're at the kidney table every day. So if I want to put a kidney table in there, I'll just go to Google and search for an image. Once again, tons of options. I'm going to choose the first one because it looks similar to the one that I have at school. But you can see that there's that white background around it. And if you were to copy and paste that onto the slide, it wouldn't look good. So what you have to do is you go to a website called remove.bg. And what this website does is you can drag an image to it and it's going to completely remove the background for you. So if I want to take this kidney table, I'm going to click and drag. And the table is now transparent, or the background is transparent. So I'm going to just go back and paste that into my room. And you can see now it pastes nicely. Now, if you want to flip it to a different position, all you have to do is click Format Options and then click Size and Flip. And then you can adjust it to what size you want it to be. And that goes for any piece of furniture that you add. You can always do remove.bg. Now to the Bitmoji extension. So this is something you're going to have to download, the Bitmoji extension. But once you do that, it's connected to Snapchat. So if you don't have a Snapchat, this isn't going to work, which is okay because you can save it to your drive and upload it. But the Bitmoji extension is great because it's just right there. It pops up right on your screen, and you can just search for what Bitmoji you want to put in there. And all you have to do is copy and paste. You just right click, copy image.
Rachel, you can get into Bitmoji without a Snapchat. You just have to create a Bitmoji account. Yeah, it gives you 2 options when you go to log in.
That's great. Thank you. I didn't know that. So then there you have it. You put your Bitmoji in. So you just follow those steps when adding any piece of furniture. When you go to link resources, I'm sure a lot of us are familiar with linking things just through NTI, but just a quick walkthrough again. So if you're wanting to put in a book, you'll have to go to Google Images and search for the book's title and just copy and paste the cover into your Google slide. And then you'll just adjust the size so that the book is able to sit on the shelf. And then once you have the object on your shelf, you can click it and highlight it and press Control K at the same time. And a box will appear where you can paste the link inside of the box and then click Apply, and that object is linked. So those are the steps of linking your objects in your classroom, because it doesn't have to be a book. Like I linked the roller coaster, so you can choose anything that you want to link. You just have to make sure you highlight it, click on it, and press Control K. So that is it for me. I hope that this was helpful for creating, but then also providing resources for you all as you start creating your own. I would love to see what other people do, what they incorporate, how they do it. So if you could use that hashtag, I would love to see what you created, and I'm sure others would too.
Rachel, my name is Heather Worrell, and I am the Executive Administrator of Digital Innovation. I forgot to introduce myself earlier, and I just wanted to give you a shout out. Awesome job, very innovative, and I'm sure your kids love having you as a teacher. Matt, I see a few questions that while we have Rachel here, let's pitch a few of these questions to her. And Rachel, you are also coming back to do this session again. When is that?
2:30.
Okay, so you're coming back at 2:30, and I think it would be great if you could answer that how-to question first when you come back at 2:30, and then go into all those awesome resources. Okay. So Kathleen's hopping in as well. So Matt and Kathleen, any questions you see in the chat? I know I saw one.
There's actually so many of them coming through, or there's so many comments coming through, it's hard to find the questions. So I'll let you go ahead while I scroll up, Heather. Sorry.
Okay, so Rachel Lepping. Rachel, I'd love to know which school you're with. We have lots of schools checking this out. And actually, Rachel, this is one of our highest rated sessions that we've had this week.
Yay.
So kudos to you. You're like a star. You know, I was having trouble yesterday finding Bitmojis that didn't have obnoxious writing in them. Any tips for finding ones of you standing or reading that don't have writing?
It was hard for me too. I'll go back.
I actually have a tip on how to do that.
Elementary. And when you're on there, if you type in like stand or wave, usually you can get some that don't have words on them.
Okay, Kathleen, were you going to add to that?
Yes, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. When I go to my Bitmoji extension, and like she said, if you do stand or wave, you can. But did you mention, Rachel? And you may have. I was trying to catch up with the chat. If you search, let's say, like we had a KCAN2 session before this. Mm-hmm. If I type KCAN2 in the search, it will make a Bitmoji with those exact words that I wanted to say.
Yeah, I noticed that because on my phone I can find different ones that are on the extension.
Mhm.
Like I was typing in something the other day and it popped up on there and I was like, that's weird. Every time I do that, I can see the letters across, and now that totally makes sense.
Yeah, so you can, and I'm sharing my screen right now, and just because we have so many viewers right now that are interested in this, I just wanted to show you. So on a new tab, if I go to my Bitmoji extension, which is right here, and let's say I type in, Friday. Today's Friday. Like it'll come up and say that with a few. And I know you said the reading may be hard, but another idea I just had, if you were to type read and a book comes up, you could always on the Google slide just put a white square over top of the words and then put your own words in. So
Kathleen, there's also a blank one of you reading a book. If you look 3 down on the left there too. Yeah.
Right here. So there's that one too. But or if it wasn't read, if it was math or something else, you wanted to add the words, you could always just put a square over top of that and kind of hide it and put your own words. But for any of you that are in the chat now, if you are interested in, I think, Rachel, are you going again next week? Is that what Heather said?
I'm today at 2:30 and then
Awesome.
also Monday and Wednesday of next week at 10:30.
Oh, wow. Great. So it'll be the same session?
Yes.
Awesome. So if you're viewing right now and this is something that you love and you start working on it over the weekend, and maybe if you want to showcase what you've done, we can maybe piggyback off of Rachel after she goes next week. So if you're interested, you can email one of the digital innovation leaders and we can get that set up for you. So that's just to our viewers. I know we had a lot of people excited. So great job.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is great.
I just have one more quick question, Kathleen, Matt, Rachel. So sorry, kids in the background. Where did this concept of the Bitmoji classroom come from? Had people seen it on Twitter? Is this a JCPS thing? Rachel, you want to take that?
I'm not really sure. I wish I knew. What happened for me was our ESL resource teacher sent me one that another ESL teacher had made. And I was like, oh, that's really cute. And then I got on Twitter and Twitter had so many. And I'm not sure where it all started, but I know that it's all the rage right now.
Well, that's definitely one of the silver linings of this whole NTI closure period. And we've said it time and time again. A principal stated that it was Miracle Grow for everyone's digital agility. And, and you actually have time to be creative. Most of the time, we're just, as teachers and educators with kids and families, we just don't have time to sit and build. So, awesome opportunity to be innovative and create. Somebody asked, could you do this in Google Drawings?
I'm not sure. I haven't tried. I don't know how easy it is to copy and paste there.
Yes, you could. You could do it in Google Drawings. You could. It just wouldn't be as, with the slides, it's nice because it's all there together, but you could make it in a Google Drawing and then save that as I don't know, and like, I guess, import that into your slide. Just
and then some people are like afraid to share their Bitmoji classroom with students because they're afraid that they may start moving stuff around or anything like that. But I know that if you don't incorporate a video and you just have links to things, if you save it as a PDF, students can still click on links through a PDF. So
that's a great tip. And they can also go to File, Publish to Web. And if the link was published to the web, it'd be in full screen from the slides, and then you wouldn't have that problem either. So
Rachel, I just wanted to say once again, kudos. I rarely jump into a session and interject. I usually just kind of watch on the chat, but this was so good. And I just wanted to make sure that you got to the how-to because I knew it would be a huge hit. And we are so proud of the work you're doing in our district. Keep leading the way. Happy Friday.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Rachel. We appreciate it, and we will see you again this afternoon.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in this morning. We are so happy to have you. We will be back at 12:30. Actually, I believe 12:30 might be an on-demand lesson. Yes, it is. It's Connecting with Math Fluency Games with Andrea Higdon. So at 1 o'clock, we will be back. We'll have multiple hats, LMS/STC in the age of NTI, with several different leaders there. So thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you have a great weekend, and we'll see you this afternoon.